Pirates Full Level System, Chapter 661 to 680. Chapter 661 Break Errands. The points race is the main race of the martial arts tournament. The point of the audition is to tell those who think highly of themselves and take their chances. If you want to participate in later games, you can, but please buy tickets. 512 players in the points competition. Taking every 4 people as a group, the number of groups also reached a staggering 128. Elimination places will be generated in each group. The opponents in the group play against each other, and each victory will bring a point, and the player with the highest points will qualify for the knockout round. At the beginning of this stage, because of the encounter between the group of seed players and the dark horse, the real feng shui ridge will be revealed. Those who organized the competition were not fools either. According to the information collected in the past few days, they evenly distributed the real masters to each group. For those of you who have been lucky enough to squeeze into the points race, that's pretty much the limit here. Of course, because there are only 128 places in the end, some powerful people will meet in advance in the points competition. At this time, the role of black box operation is reflected. Those contestants who have marked the names of the forces are automatically included in the list of protected objects, and there is no problem in entering the knockout rounds smoothly. Continuing the practice of the Audition 090 competition, multiple group competitions were held at the same time. Under such circumstances, it was barely guaranteed that the points match would be completed within 12 days. 4 areas are set up in 4 places. The abandoned military factory of the dinosaur family, an uninhabited island near Calgary, the artificial island of Jerma, and the port where marine docks. Both sides of the battle can use various terrains in the area to catch and kill. Because a large number of surveillance cameras and video phone bugs are set up in the area, the pictures of these battles can be played on the big screen in the viewing square in real time. Spectators who want to watch the game can either go to the 4 places to watch the game on their own, or they can choose to watch each game in the viewing square. It's a long game, Qin Luosheng said reluctantly. Under the strong recommendation of Darwin, the patriarch of the dinosaur family, and the encouragement of Momoshiki for fear that the world would not be in chaos, Qin Luo still took over the job of refereeing the points match. Of course, it was a cameo. If the referee is the whole process, Darwin's face is not enough to invite him to touch him. Go away, it will be too late if you don't go. Momoshiki is very interested in a Budo tournament of this size. She was the only one who would pull Qin Luo out early in the morning. Tsunade and Olivia both said that they would stay in the hotel room today. The former was used to meeting various ninja exams while the latter was completely uninterested. Darwin maliciously suggested Qin Luo to go to Marine's field to be a referee at first. Darwin's abacus was overwhelmed, and he wanted Qin Luo to dangle in front of Marine all the time. Maybe there would be some unexpected commotion during the game for Qin Luo to show his hand. This is no longer a conspiracy, it is purely to disgust Qin Luo. Qin Luo's response was to sneer and not answer the question, not even giving him a chance to test it out. So Qin Luo fought the opportunity to be the referee at the number 3 venue on the uninhabited island. As a result, the uninhabited island arena is still a pit. Darwin not only brought Duoyuya and Hawkeye's team recommended by Qin Luo to the arena here, but also 6 exposed, spell experimental subjects. A field was divided into 32 groups, and as a result, the groups of these 6 people were all divided into the uninhabited island field. It's all luck. Qin Luo couldn't help but think of Darwin's ill-fated face. Here, Qin Luo wronged Darwin. If he could, Darwin would have liked to put all 6 of them into the abandoned factory arena under his influence. Wherever he went, these 6 people were still not in his bag. Since the exposure of the special abilities of these 6 spell experimental subjects, how many forces have wanted to secretly capture a research study, but they have never been able to find an opportunity. Marine, the Kingdom of Jerma, and the dinosaur family are involved in each other, and no one wants these 6 experimental subjects to be swayed by the other 2 forces. The method of equal division is even more impossible, not to mention that Vegapunk's 6 major fan groups are not divided enough, and these forces are not willing to leak technology. No matter how advanced the technology is, once it is made public, it will become boring. Only the technology that is in the hands of oneself and unknown to others is the most valuable. The final tacit understanding became like this: all 6 of them were drawn to the uninhabited island arena that did not belong to any force. The forces of all parties who heard about the incident were fully armed, and they directly sent ships to surround the uninhabited island. I didn't know the formation and thought they were here to erase this island from the map. Watch the game. I should have guessed that Darwin wouldn't give me any easy errands. Chin Luo said, covering his forehead. He came here on the boat of the tournament party. When he came, the entire periphery of the uninhabited island was completely occupied, not to mention other spectators. Even the referee and the players on the same boat were blocked outside. Not an inch. At this time, it is definitely hopeless for a well-meaning person to give way. Chin Luo jumped up from the boat, tapped the pole of the boat in front of him, and landed lightly on the beach of the uninhabited island. Chin Luo raised the loudspeaker in his hand. Everyone, I am the referee of this arena. I wonder if you can spread out a little bit, and the players behind cannot enter the arena. Chin Luo was sure that his voice was not small, but after hearing it, there was not one who pretended to be indifferent. Is this really difficult? The cow candy and the turtle with the shrinking head are the types that Chin Luo doesn't want to deal with, and the focus is on a trouble. Chin Luo pointed to the group of ships in front of him, and nodded one by one. You, and you all, back up and make way. After being named by Chin Luo, most of the forces couldn't hold their breath. He greeted Chin Luo softly and affectionately, you are courting death, and pointed out the knife directly, or aimed the artillery at Chin Luo. Violence is indeed the best response. It is simple, rude and effective. Chin Luo also agrees. Chin Luo looked around the place where he landed, but there was a small forest, and looking at the size of those trees, he was still handy. In a stunned state, Chin Luo uprooted trees with thick heads and threw them at the ships of those forces. Without time to react, how could an ordinary wooden boat stop the tree thrown by Chin Luo, and it was pierced on the spot. Some who had been scolded fiercely before were even cut off by Chin Luo's lower half of the hull. Chin Luo is a person who was exposed to rain and dew, and none of the ships named by him before have escaped. Chapter 662 Points Match Opener. The forces that smashed the ship by Chin Luo are now suffering. Regret is sure, but it doesn't help at all. It's also because Chin Luo is too aggressive and smashes the boat if he disagrees. But they are obviously big bosses. After seeing Chin Luo's slightly revealed strength, they can only recognize this kind of thing. As for going to Chin Luoxing's teacher to ask the guilt, they can't have such an idea at all, unless they want to have a hole in their head like those sunken ships. Darwin and his butler, who were far away in the studio of the broadcasting plaza, stared blankly at the video from the uninhabited island arena. I didn't expect this guest's reaction to be so big. Although it wasn't the first time he knew about it, Darwin's heart was a little empty when he saw Chin Luo's great power again. Yeah, I thought at first that this guest would do nothing in order not to expose himself. The housekeeper did not think Chin Luo was a responsible person. In his opinion, all Chin Luo's actions have their own purpose, and the housekeeper's thoughts can't help but spread. After a pause, the butler continued. Patriarch, do you think there is a possibility between this guest and the mysterious forces? The housekeeper didn't say anything later, but anyone could hear what it meant. This matter can't be determined. Darwin hesitated, shook his head and continued, let our people not rush to do it first. And destroy the relevant information about this guest, we just need to know. Yes, the butler responded, and immediately went to prepare. Darwin wanted Chin Luo to be targeted by people from Marine and Germa Kingdom, but now he wants to destroy Chin Luo's information. This kind of inconsistency only shows that Darwin was ready to dig a hole for others to jump in. The rest of the forces were also taken aback when they heard that there was such a fierce man in the referee of the uninhabited island arena. They also told their subordinates to be careful, but quitting is impossible. With such a large piece of fat as the 6 seekers experimental subjects, it is always right to eat it first, no matter whether it will be indigestion or not. Not to mention the reactions of other forces, Qin-luo stopped doing it after clearing a space for players to enter and leave the arena for the uninhabited island. Those forces whose ships were destroyed by Qin-luo also protested without making fun of themselves. They escaped from the sunken ship and boarded other civilian ships. There are a total of 4 regional referees in the uninhabited island arena, and a group of chief referees. Qin-luo is a regional referee, and he is in charge of the 3rd area of the uninhabited island arena. These people actually arrived early, but they had nothing to do with the fact that the island was besieged, and they pretended to be dead until Qin-luo resolved the matter. For these people, Qin-luo didn't even bother to say hello. Go go go, don't get in the way of the uncle here. Qin-luo picked up Momoshiki, and at the same time took something he had prepared from the boat. Is called, Newbie Referee Gift Package, which is actually written as, Deluxe Package for Uninhabited Island Vacation. The list of things to prepare is as follows. Parasol ×2, portable folding deck chair ×2, a full set of fishing tools ×2, a pair of barbecue grills. Some fresh fruit, some ice block. As a result, a lot of people were stunned, and camps by the beach were erected. This is the most personal referee they have ever seen, bar none. Because it is the first day of the points competition, even if there is no competition that day, the players will come to the scene today. The purpose is to observe the competition venue in advance. The terrain in the number 3 area that Qin-luo is in charge of includes jungles, grasslands, beaches, rock pits, and oceans, which are relatively comprehensive. In addition to hard power, players can use the terrain to carry out various ambush and tactics. Deaths are also not allowed in the points competition, but as long as it is not fatal or disabled, the competition referee does not care at all. There is an hour of time, but if there is no victory or defeat within an hour, both sides will be judged as losing 0 points, which is also a way to prevent some people from wanting to hide and opportunistically. In addition, there is no way to cross the border. No player can cross his own division to other divisions. Once found, the edge is judged to fail. As the first game of the knockout round, in order to win the gate of opening red, each game will arrange a main event, also to attract more attention. The highlight of the uninhabited island is the 3rd area in charge of Qin-luo. The 2 sides are duo Yuya and a famous swordsman in North Blue. S strength is good, and he can always hover between the top 20 and 30 on the championship winning power rankings issued by the casino. Even if Shanks appears in this ranking, Doflamingo's Dark Horse has not changed since then. But strength is one thing, popularity is another. Duo Yu is not just a player, she is also a cool and beautiful swordsman. Before the Empress appeared, Taiyu also naturally became North Blue's otaku goddess. Feel the popularity of Tayuya up close at the broadcast plaza. The mountains and the tsunami are all the audience cheering for Tayuya. Even in the uninhabited island competition area, Qin-luo could hear similar voices. Tayuya-chan, come on. Qin-luo looked at Momoshiki, who joined in the fun with a look of disgust. You started. The 2 people were randomly brought into the arena by the staff, and the game started at the countdown. 0, 3, 2, 1. Game start. Between, the swordsman from North Blue swung a slash toward the sky, flying into the air with the remains of trees and dust. Provocative. No, that swordsman showed his determination and exposed his position, and at the same time challenged Taiyu to the swordsman. Now Taiyu can understand the thoughts of these swordsmen to some extent. Although he does not agree, you must know that in the world of Naruto, the samurai who mainly use swords are outdated and despised by ninjas. But Tayuya's current role doesn't allow her to show her disgust. A sword energy stronger than before rushed into the sky. And the swordsman from North Blue met on the grass at the edge of the jungle. Daughter's swordsman of sound, I have heard of your name, but the throne of the world's #1 swordsman belongs to me only. As soon as the summoning was finished, the swordsman from North Blue rushed up. A long knife was drawn out and held in both hands, while a dagger and short sword were bitten in the mouth. This kind of second knife flow is also rare. When he rushed in front of Tayuya, the swordsman from North Blue speeded up again and jumped high. 2 slashes from bottom to top and top to bottom crossed the arc and fell to Duoyuya. The strong sword energy forced the grass and trees on the side to fall to the side, and Tayuya's swordsman robe was blown by the wind. At this time, a crisp flute sounded. Chapter 663 Slash of the Sun and Lotus. Appeared. On the spectator seat in the number 3 area of the uninhabited island arena in the broadcast square, as a crisp flute sounded on the broadcast screen, the crowded spectator seat became agitated. The sound of the flute is something that inevitably accompanies Tayuya when he moves, and it has basically become the symbol of Tayuya. So much so that the voices calling her, illusory girl swordsman, have disappeared, and they are generally called, sound girl swordsman, or, illusory girl swordsman. On the other side of the arena, in the face of 2 approaching slashes, Tayuya stroked his red hair that had been blown away by the wind, and put the flute on his lips and blew softly. In the torrential sound of the 2 slashes, the flute sound was like a stream flowing quietly. Although it was small, it was very obvious. The slash wiped across Tayuya's body. The first slash hit the ground, including Tayuya's position, stirring up a lot of dust and debris, and the subsequent slashes smashed them all away, leaving only 2 deep sword marks on the ground. Duoyuya, who had been slashed through, turned into foam and spread out. Phantom. Although he didn't think the famous female swordsman would eat his own big move, after seeing that it was an illusion, the swordsman was still a little disappointed. But immediately he regained his energy and turned to look at the sky behind him. I saw Tayuya holding the flute in one hand, and her feet gently touching the top of a tree, as if floating there without gravity. I don't know why, but the normal operation in Naruto world, with Duoyu's flowing robes, has a feeling of flying an immortal. It is true that people rely on clothes and horses rely on saddles. Videophone bugs and other broadcast equipment buried throughout the arena caught the scene in time, and it was another commotion after it was broadcast back to the broadcast square. North Blue swordsman, who was about to fall on the ground, stepped on a tree beside him and rose into the sky. The swordsman clenched the long sword with both hands and dragged it behind him. The sunlight filtered through the gap in the forest and fell on the blade, as if it had been absorbed, and disappeared abruptly. Until the swordsman leapt over the forest, and in the sun, his knife pierced it against the sun, and then it shone brightly. Chopping, the swordsman roared and made a firm voice while biting the dagger. This knife is a reference to the just rising sun. When the long knife gathered in the sun, he used the dazzling sunlight to cut out a deadly knife. This sword contains the sword force, the use of light and the indomitable slash, which is already the strongest move of the swordsman. The sunlight refracted by the long knife can not only stimulate the eyes of the target unexpectedly, but also has a certain optical illusion, which can make people misjudge the position of the slash. It was a move that contained hope, at least in the heart of the North Blue swordsman. But in anticipation, the swordsman heard such a sentence. Hey, it's kind of interesting. The voice was so small that only the swordsman next to Tayuya could hear it clearly. Taiyu is also a person who is good at using illusions, and although the illusion swordsmanship used by the North Blue swordsman is not a real illusion, it is somewhat of that meaning. But this is still not enough to see in front of Tayuya. Taiyu also pulled out the long sword from his waist and stabbed it twice at a very fast speed. The tip of the sword landed on the North Blue swordsman's two-handed sword for the first time, deflected it, and then stabbed Janao in the head. Of course, Duoyu wouldn't really cut off the person's head, but just wanted to use a bunch of hair to persuade him to quit. At a critical moment, the North Blue swordsman turned his head sharply, and the dagger he had bitten in his mouth crossed an arc and slashed at Tayuya's sword. With the force of this collision, the North Blue swordsman turned upside down in the air. The whole body twisted, and the two-handed sword slashed again on Tayuya's sword. Because it was a blow, the North Blue swordsman put all his strength on the sword. Just listening to the say, the two excellent longswords were disconnected at the same time. Speaking of which, North Blue Swordsman's two-handed swords still take advantage of them. The length and thickness of the two-handed swords are larger than ordinary swords, while Tayuya's swords are thinner. Taiyu also didn't expect his sword to shatter, but he was relieved to think that it was just something he bought at the store. The swordsman of North Blue did not intend to miss this perfect opportunity. The dagger and short sword in his mouth were thrown out by his mouth, and the target was really Tayuya's neck. At this time, the swordsman could no longer consider whether this sneak attack would lead to the death of his opponent. Victory and defeat are all here. The swordsman who threw the final blow fell to the ground, his eyes fixed on the dagger thrown by him. It was close, and the dagger was less than a meter away from Tayuya's neck. Seemingly thrilling scenes are commonplace to Tayuya. In the world of Hokage, whose kunai is not cast like this? Duoyu also didn't dislike the dagger either, taking it as Kuwu's hand, and the dagger flew to the other side. The swordsmanship is also interesting here. Taiyu also felt that this move was like a kunai use, but in the eyes of the North Blue swordsman, Taiyu was also mocking him. Normally, the North Blue swordsman's moves were all cracked by Duoyu, and his best choice was to admit defeat. However, feeling insulted, he charged at Tayuya again with the broken sword in anger. Duoyu couldn't figure out where the other party's inexplicable anger came from, but she wasn't a person to be with. The flute sliding in the air caused a sound, and the swordsman was stunned for a moment as if lost, and at this moment, Taiyu also took her own broken sword and cut out her sword skills. Taiyu doesn't know any swordsmanship, but as long as he dances fast, pretending is enough. The hand speed of being single for more than 10 years. No, it is the hand speed that has been cultivated in the ninja world. Tayuya's right hand seemed to be transformed into hundreds, and at the same time he held the broken sword and cut out various sword skills. The movements in his hands were all disguised, but with the help of the broken sword, petal-shaped waves of chopped air were poured out, like a blooming lotus flower. The slash cut through the clothes of the swordsman 0.2, and then flattened all the trees within more than 10 meters behind the swordsman. It's so beautiful. This is the swordsman murmured and fell to the ground. Tayuya's Zonkong wave just cut through his skin and avoided other positions. So don't look at the swordsman's whole body as blood, but all are flesh wounds. I admit defeat. The swordsman's words brought the game to an end. Qin Luo, as the referee, appeared beside the two in a timely manner and announced that the winner was Duoyu. There is no way, they are all referees, and they have to show up. You can't push everything to other staff. Sorry, I broke your sword. The first thing the swordsman did when he got up was to apologize to Tayuya. What is this operation? Qin Luo looked at the black question mark on his face. Brother, should you stop the bleeding first? Chapter 664 First Mover. Duoyu also put the broken sword in her hand back into the scabbard. She is still a ninja at heart, not the type of the 7 ninja swordsmen, so she doesn't pay much attention to weapons. Facing the North Blue swordsman who seemed to be entangled, Taiyu also said lightly, "It's okay, the swordsmanship is good." Throwing down these words, Duoyu also left without looking back. There is no match for her in the future, she only needs to be a spectator. Qin Luo still underestimated Tayuya's ability to attract fans. Even if she had no expression on her face and lack of figure, she still couldn't stop the charm correction brought by the role of the proud red-haired female swordsman. A true fan doesn't even care if a minute is 60 or 59 seconds, what else? Let you abuse me 1,000 times, and I will treat you like my first love. This North Blue swordsman friend resolutely joined Tayuya's fan club. The level of brain damage is close to that of Admiral, the main force in the fan group. Qin Luo felt that it was too extravagant to simply treat Duoyu as a spy before. Maybe she could try to package her as a star among swordsmen. Not only can he know the sword, but he is also good-looking, and he can also play the flute. In other words, it's completely technical, looks up to standard, and has a good oral life. 19 Qin Luo has secretly decided that after that, he must have Orochimaru give Duo Yuya a full range of plastic surgery. The three psychic beasts must change their appearances, and they must also strengthen their A, and then equip them with two exquisite weapons. It almost feels like coming. Chinluo is still playing the game of pinching his face in his mind, and the next game has already begun. The number 3 area of the uninhabited island is destined to be a very lively area. How should I put it? After Duoyuya's Gate of Opening became popular, the next players were also not good. The most important thing is that one of them belongs to one of the 6 sea spell experimental subjects that have been discovered. The 6 experimental subjects of the sea curse, who were all concerned, did not come to the uninhabited island arena on the official boat. Of course, Chinluo had no doubts at all. If the 6 sea curse experimental subjects dared to take the official boat, they would kill countless people with bad intentions on the way. The rules of the game do not control things outside the arena. Not only will the organizers of the game not stop this matter, but they will even happily join the hunt together. Therefore, as long as they are not stupid, these 6 exposed ones will definitely not show their faces outside easily. Basically, he jumped out of the sea when he was stuck at the start of the game. The Sea Curse Experiment Body, the full name is the Pirate World Curse Seal Experiment Body. Orochimaru has acquired 15 such subjects in total during this period of time. Except for number 3, who died suddenly during the experiment, the other subjects are still alive. It should be the experimental subject numbered HCO5 who is on the field now, and the experimental subject numbered HCO2 who turned out his hands to kill the quartet in the preliminaries before. Number HC05 is a warrior of the long-footed tribe, and the kicking skills on his feet are splendid when they are deployed. This is a well-matched opponent carefully selected by the competition group for the number HC05. Quite interesting, isn't it? The variant part of the number HC05 is in the legs. As for whether it is really evenly matched, it depends on the situation of the subsequent games. The short-lived in the audition was too short-lived, and after the outbreak, the realization of the whole process could not see the upper limit of the strength of the sea spell experimental body. This time the two entered the venue very close, both on the coast. The two began to approach each other from the start of the match. But if you look at the speed, the warriors of the long-footed tribe are much faster. The long-footed warriors tried their best to go through the audition, like the 6 sea curse experimental subjects of the mysterious force that made a big splash. How could he not know? He has no confidence that he can defeat the number HCO5 after the opponent's transformation, but the strength of the number HCO5 before the transformation is not much stronger than the average person. The long-footed people are very clear about this, so he has to strike first and not give the opponent a chance to come back. As they approached, the warriors of the long-footed tribe threw their feet on the ground. His purpose was to roll up the dust on the beach under his feet. In an instant, the beach on the coast turned into a desert where a dust storm came, and the dust covered the whole sky and turned the whole world into a yellowish appearance, with the effect of throwing several smoke bombs one after another. For this kind of tactic, the audience is definitely not happy to see it. What they want is a fight to the flesh, not this kind of unseen tactic. Fortunately, the number HC05 is not stupid enough to rush into the smoke and fight against the warriors of the long-footed tribe. He was still a bit overwhelmed by his combat effectiveness before he transformed. Number HC05 gave the Longfoot warrior a chance, and above the number HC05, where he hadn't noticed, the Longfoot warrior rushed out of the smoke. The tomahawk-style split fell from the sky, and the serial number HC05 couldn't dodge. He crossed his hands and barely blocked the opponent's legs above his head. But after all, it was too reluctant. This was the long-planned killer move of the Chengzu warriors. Numbered HC05 was crushed into the ground, and his body staggered, completely falling into the follow-up ultimate move of the long-footed warrior. The whip leg that was ejected all at once fell on the body numbered HC05. Between the number HC05 and the long-footed warriors, there are leg shadows everywhere. Under the batter, the number HC05 was beaten slowly off the ground. The end of the series of beatings has come. No matter how strong the long-footed warriors are, they can't continue to fight indefinitely, and it is impossible for them to use their physical strength alone. But meeting the number HC05 is not a chance to breathe, but a knee strike from the long-footed warrior. No, HC05's body in midair bent into a prawn that has been cooked all the time. The long-footed warrior's knee hit the belly of HC05, and blood spurted out of 870 feet's air along with the bitter water. A powerful force flew towards the sea with the body numbered HC05. The long-footed warrior was not too bad. The set of combos just now cost him a lot of physical strength. He gasped desperately, but this level of damage was not the final result he wanted. Taking a deep breath, the long-footed warrior's attack hasn't ended yet, and stopping now would be a half assistance. The next scene caused the audience to exclaim in the number 3 area of the uninhabited island in the broadcast square. What? This long-footed clan player is able to run on the sea. The temporarily dispatched commentator exclaimed. The long-footed warrior will step on a lot of water with each foot on the sea, but with this speed and strength, he runs fast and flat on the sea. He catches up with the number HC05, and again before he falls into the water knock it out. At this time, everyone could see the intentions of the Chengzu warriors. Each competition area has a field boundary, and this is still the case on the sea. There is a long line of red buoys 50 minutes away from the sea. This is the boundary. The long-footed warrior intends to kick the number HC05 out of the border once to determine his victory. A short-term advantage cannot bring victory to the long-footed warriors. As long as the number HC05 slows down, the situation will be reversed in an instant. Everyone knows this. Chapter 665 Compass Player. From the very beginning, the long-footed warriors decided to use the first-mover advantage to hit the number HC05 out of the border in one go. This way of winning is not good-looking, but it is the safest way. Forgive your strength after the outbreak. The number HC05 in the air is also difficult for a clever woman to cook without rice. Without a focus, the number HC05 can't change the fate of being kicked out of the border. Just one last kick. When everyone thought that the long-footed warriors were winning, a mutation occurred. HC05, which was shot in the air, split its mouth, and a sinister cry came from it. The blood vessels on the number HC05's body burst out, and the bumps moved along the arteries of the blood vessels, and then the black runes climbed up the skin of the number HC05. For the audience on the broadcasting plaza, this was the first time to see the complete transformation of the sea-spell experimental body. For ordinary people, this process has a shuddering feeling. The feet are still changing, and the long-footed warriors are already approaching. Looking at the solemn foot of the long-footed warrior, the number HC05 lifted his right leg covered with exoskeletons and kicked it out fiercely. Very good, even if this can hit him hard, the impact will still send the number HC05 out of the arena. The long-footed warrior thought so in his heart, and there was a smile of successful strategy on the corner of his mouth. In order to win, a little effort is always required. No one could have imagined that the foot numbered HC05 was not for the long-footed warrior, but for himself. The kick didn't stop there after the kick, and continued to lift up and kick on the left shoulder of HC05. In an instant, slap, the left hand numbered HC05 became a decoration, and the bones were broken from the left shoulder. A stream of blood spurted out of his mouth, but the purpose of numbering HC05 was also achieved, and his state of being knocked into the air did not change. But because of this kick, he suddenly changed the direction of his body's flight, slightly to the right side than before, and his body also turned to the long-footed warrior. The last kick arrived as expected, and the number HC05 flew backwards towards the sea at the lower right and smashed into the deep sea. The warning at the boundary of the arena did not sound, which also meant that the plan of the Chengzu warriors fell short, and the number HC05 did not go out of bounds. Let the tiger return to the mountain and suffer endless troubles, and the serial number HC05 did not appear after falling into the sea. Under the seemingly calm sea without wind and waves, the Chengzu warriors could feel the blazing killing of chickens. A black shadow flashed past the feet of the long-footed warriors, and a pillar of seawater rose into the sky. The pillar of seawater with a diameter of 1/2 meter rested on the waist of the long-footed warrior, and brought the long-footed warrior, who was flying towards the shore, into the sky from behind. After the water column disappeared, the figure numbered HC05 reappeared. His left hand is still drooping, and the brown exoskeleton on his foot has finally taken on its final form. The feet numbered HC05 are like a pair of tweezers, but the two sides of the tweezers are 2 meters long. Parts of the soles of the feet disappeared, and they were replaced by 2 slender blades, also transformed from the exoskeleton. With his knees bent, the serial number HC05 jumped into the air, a barb and a toe pierced through the body of the long-footed warrior. The long-footed warrior is like a fish pierced by a harpoon, with sharp toes protruding from its abdomen. No, HC05 tortured the long-footed warrior on one side. The foot that penetrated the belly of the long-footed warrior continued to grind his wounds, causing him to let out a terrifying wailing sound, and the other foot slowly lifted, as if he was about to be executed in the air to this enemy who just gave him a lot of hardships. The toe of the other foot shone a sinister light in the sun. The long-footed warrior barely reacted before the execution, numbered HC05 came. He kicked his right leg on the thigh of the other foot numbered HC05, blocking the attack, and released him from the state of belly piercing. Came out and landed on the shore. The long-footed warrior's blood from the abdomen stained the beach red. Number HC05 fell from the sky, his legs dipped straight into the sand, and he didn't want to let go of the long-footed warriors just like that. He danced like a figure skater, but what he showed was not a wonderful movement, but a fierce killing intent and a broken ground. The legs of the two sides are intertwined, and the long-footed warriors have the advantage in skills, but this is useless. He couldn't stop the attack numbered HC05 at all. Gradually, the wounds on the long-footed warriors increased. The trousers turned into some rags, and the legs of the long-footed warriors were full of finger-length cuts, as well as the upper body. The deepest was a scar on the right arm. It stretched from the wrist to the shoulder, and an inch of hair was shaved. As long as the wound was deeper, the Longfoot warrior would have to say goodbye to his half-left hand. No, looking at all the splashes of his own blood, the long-footed warriors felt the deepest fear from the face of number HC05, who was trying to kill me on the opposite side. The Longfoot warrior shouted to admit defeat, before being killed. But he still didn't dare to let his guard down, and the number HC05 didn't mean to let him go. I've already given up, you monster, stop. The long-footed warrior was about to cry, and during this period, he added a deep wound to his body. Serial number HC05 seems to be unheard of, and continues his murderous plan. The degree of tyranny of the sea mantra experimental body after the transformation is chasing the out-of-control Libre Ego. The referee, come out and announce the result of the game, I'm going to be killed. The ugly state of the long-footed warrior was seen by many people in the live broadcast, but no one laughed at him, only a kind of empathetic fear, being stared at by a monster. Hey, okay, I'm here. Chin Luo walked in with the grilled fish in his mouth. He didn't forget his responsibilities as a referee. That, compass player, please stop for a while, otherwise I will sentence you to failure. Chin Luo took the last bite of the fish. No, HC05 still did not respond, and continued his actions. This has nothing to do with who is speaking, it is simply that he loses his sense of autonomy, and his actions are dominated by the killing instinct. Please, referee, stop him, I don't want to win, I retire. Chin Luo was a little embarrassed by the embarrassed appearance of the long-footed players. Folding the bamboo skewer of the grilled fish in half, Chin Luo threw it out. Although I want to condemn the compass player as a loser, it seems that the long-footed player is unwilling. So the winner is still the compass player. No shouting for the victors, and no cursing for the losers. In the broadcast square, even the gamblers who lost the bet were silent. On the one hand, it was due to the horror brought by the number HC05, and on the other hand, it came from the shock brought by the referee with Chin Luo. No, HC05 stopped, but it was not stopped. Chin Luo's 2 bamboo sticks covered armament hockey and pinned his legs to the ground. Chapter 666-finale game. Number HC05. S sharp blade-like toes have black spikes on the left and right to pierce them to the ground. The tops of the 2 long nails were connected with 2 thin black lines, which continued to Chin Luo's hands. Chin Luo relied on this method to keep the 2 bamboo sticks shot around armament hockey at all times. The hard gray shell can withstand thousands of blows, but not 2 slender bamboo sticks. Armament hockey covered on bamboo sticks forms numerous barbs after piercing it and inserting it into the ground to hold the number HC05 firmly. If it hadn't been so early, the number HC05 would have broken free. Before the long-footed warriors were taken away from the arena by the staff, the number HC05 did not give up the idea of tyrannizing the opponent. This is a complete failure. What is the use of the weapon that can get out of control at every turn, and I don't know whether it will be the enemy or myself in the end. For this kind of thing, Chin Luo can't appreciate it, and he won't care. HC05 on the edge of the frenzy lose its target. After Chin Luo scattered the armament hockey that restrained him, the mutation on the number HC05 faded away and returned to its original appearance. The fractured state of the left shoulder is much better. The use of the C-spell ability will release a large amount of the life force of the experimental subject, and 973 will also gain a strong self-healing ability. But this kind of pay and gain is obviously disproportionate, and it can even be said that the loss is a mess. It would be good to find natural energy in the pirate world. Where is there any magic chakra to waste for Orochimaru? Therefore, the power of these C-spell experimental bodies is provided by extracting the life force of the host itself. At this time, the serial number HC05 had a sullen face. He was clearly in his 20s, but he had a face that could be called old age. White hair, wrinkles, and dry skin, these are enough to explain the price of the battle just now. Number HC05. Number HC05 dragged the tired body slowly into the sea, as if they came out of the bottom of the sea at the beginning of the game, and they will disappear into the bottom of the sea after the game. Chin Luo looked down on the technology of the Sea Curse experiment body and ignored it, but it didn't mean that other teams also didn't care about this technology. The bloody shark has been prepared for a long time, and no one wants to miss this opportunity to divide up. A sharpened knife is waiting outside the boundary of the arena, just waiting for the line numbered HC05 to cross the sea. Ignore the encirclement and suppression activities that follow. As long as you leave the arena area, Chin Luo will not take care of other places, and Chin Luo will not meddle in his own business. As for the danger of Sea Curse's technology leak, Chin Luo never thought about it at all. You can do any research, and you can figure it out and count me as a loser. Completely different world system, unheard of power. Even if these people caught the Sea Curse experimental body, what would happen? It is impossible for them to study chakra from the pirate world where hockey and devil fruit are chatting with each other. This kind of difficulty is no different from the children who have just graduated from the big class and learn advanced functions by themselves. The farce that followed ended in haste. All the forces failed to take down the seriously injured number HC05, and a huge sea python rescued him. Chin Luo's performance was seen by Darwin and his butler, who felt that they had been overly concerned before. Chin Luo doesn't seem to have anything to do with this mysterious force that suddenly appeared. To be honest, Chin Luo was a little disdainful of the performance of the 6 Sea Curse experimental subjects. As I said before, the number 3 area of the uninhabited island arena that Chin Luo is in charge of is a lively and hard-hit area. There were a total of 8 teams, 6 C-spell experimental subjects plus Tayuya and Hawkeye, all arranged. Therefore, on the first day of the broadcast of the points match, the popularity of the number 3 area of the uninhabited island is no less than that of the areas where the favorites to win the championship are located. Even because of Tayuya, there is a faint momentum of the first popular area. The schedule of the entire points competition is still relatively compact. Each group has 1 game a day, and after the game numbered HC05, there are two competitions for the C-spell experimental subjects. They are the number HC02, which can grow an arm from the severed hand, and the number HC11, which can extract 4 new arms. With the lessons of the number HC05, the number HC02 and the number HC11 both chose to kill quickly, find the opponent, and then directly transform to knock them down. Even if they wanted to hide from the cat, their speed was not as fast as the transformed C-spell experimental body. Once they were caught up, the outcome would be decided in just 1 second. Using this method does not consume much of the number HC02 and the number HC11, and the forces surrounding the uninhabited island have no chance. This kind of excitement outside the uninhabited island lasted for a day. As the competition continued, the armed prosthetic limbs that had not appeared during the audition began to shine, drawing a lot of attention. Had no concept of armed prosthetics as prizes before, but now they know. Moreover, compared with the strange transformation method of the C-spell and the post-war realization of the dead, armed prosthetics are more acceptable. Many people's ideas have already reached the major forces that preside over the martial arts conference. On the first day of the points competition, Chin Luo was in charge of the third area of the uninhabited island. As the final match, the future world number 1 swordsman Mahawk and an ace sniper from the army of a certain country in North Blue boarded playing field. The staff seemed to take great care of the gloomy sniper, who was far away from where Hawkeye was going into the game. The sniper is placed deep in the jungle, while the eagle eye is located on the coast, which can be said to be two extremes. With the precedent in front, and facing the confident swordsman in the back, the first move on the stage was to slash the air with a knife. When he dropped the long knife into the sea and swung it towards the sky, the sword chi cut out a rainbow in the air along with the water splash. When did the dull eagle eye learn such an arrogant swordsmanship, but his face still had a cool and calm look. Asshole, what is cold and handsome, Mahawk with eagle eyes, I should have recognized you long ago. Chin Luo quickly calmed down. If it wasn't for him often looking in the mirror to improve his immunity to handsome, he would certainly not be calm. Hawkeye waited in place for a while, but he didn't see the response from the other side, so he simply went into the jungle and wandered around. To be able to enter the points competition, most of them have some temper. Even if the probability of winning is not high, it is impossible to go through this hour without firing a shot. The opponent is a certain army's ace sniper, and in front of the entire North Blue, he can afford to lose this person. Therefore, Hawkeye is not worried about the other party hiding. As long as the other party has an idea, a little movement can't escape his eyes. What's more, Hawkeye is a man who has stayed in the face of the fruit for a long time, and the man next to the excellent hockey user red-haired Shanks. It is impossible not to observe hockey. Chapter 667 Sniper First Shot. Deep in the jungle, on an inconspicuous tree, the sniper hid himself under the cover of dense foliage. Before the match began, the snipers gathered information on other opponents in the group. And as a seeded player who directly advanced to the points match, Mahawk's name is even more dazzling. None of these players who can directly skip the audition is a soft persimmon, and the competition party's behavior of allocating these seed players to each group is also very worrying. In North Blue, Hawkeye's reputation is not obvious, and he was able to find the one-handed swordsmanship revealed during the last show, but although he only had one-shot experience, the casino directly determined that he had the strength to enter the top 16. Ranked 20th on the leaderboard. Faced with such an opponent, snipers dare not be careless. Because of Hawkeye's sword energy slashing into the sky, the sniper quickly grasped Hawkeye's position, but he never thought about the fact that he could signal with a gun. There is always only one reason for a sniper to die on the battlefield, and that is to reveal his position. Finding a suitable ambush location and arranging all traps and tactics, the sniper tries his best to defeat Hawkeye. Thanks to the sufficient monitoring equipment in the arena, the pictures of snipers setting up traps were also broadcast, otherwise this person would disappear from the broadcast screen for at least half an hour. The average audience can't understand what kind of traps the snipers have set up, burying grenades, and digging holes and cutting trees. But I don't realize it. It doesn't prevent the audience from secretly rejoicing like a sniper. It is much more interesting to be able to rely on these things to shadow a great swordsman. Unlike the snipers, who are generally working on the construction site, whenever the picture is given to Hawkeye, the other party is either taking a leisurely walk or watching the scenery comfortably. This guy, Hawkeye, completely regards himself as a tourist party, but this is the only one who goes sightseeing in the game. 40 minutes passed, and the sniper finished all preparations. He said that he was hiding among the leaves, and that the one with the silencer was also camouflaged. The sniper is like a poisonous snake hiding in the leaves, completely integrated with the surrounding environment. Only when he launches a deadly attack does he reveal his stature. A signal catapult shot into the air, and a blaze that made a piercing whistle flickered into the sky, and finally exploded into a firework. The flare was released remotely by the sniper in an open space 1,000 meters away from him. The sniper is sending an invitation to Hawkeye, inviting the other party to participate in his sniper feast. Of course, the only thing Hawkeye has to do is to be his target. Snipers are very confident in their placement. After seeing the signal flare, Hawkeye's eyes changed instantly. He once thought that he had run into a Buddhist opponent, and he was holding a gun of kindness that can't fire a single shot. Now it seems that the sniper on the opposite side still has some ideas. 10 minutes, no, 5 minutes. Hawkeye flew in the direction of the flare and made up his mind to quickly solve the opponent. In the clearing where the flares were fired, Hawkeye saw only a spent flare casing dropped to the ground. Hawkeye pulled out a sword in his hand and slowly walked towards the signal flare. Based on Hawkeye's experience, this place is indeed a good target. Since the other party has prepared this place so carefully, it must not have gone far. This open space was the sniper's first gift to Hawkeye. Although it was separated by 1,000 meters, it was because of the sniper's preparation in advance. The field of vision between the open space and his current position was completely cleared, and the impact of the wind on the bullet was also minimized, so he was confident that he would hit a shot. Hawkeye carefully picked up the knife and walked over. Facing this kind of ambush and plot-like scene, he handled it with ease. After all, on Shank's ship, there is also a person who loves to snipe people with a rifle. This guy Beckman is the one who is obviously powerful in the sense, but uses his brain to fight. Hawkeye and his discussion never took advantage of it, and it was made very disgusting. Thanks to Beckman, Hawkeye said that this ace sniper is still too tender. The flare is the first link of all traps and is the key to triggering a series of tactics and traps that follow. Hawkeye was very sure of this, so he picked up the flare without worrying about the danger behind him. Just at this time, there was another gust of wind on the sea, and the trees on the island made a rustling sound in the wind. And in this rustling sound, there was a muffled sound. The bullet flew out of the woods on the right side of Hawkeye, and most people might be attacked, but it was of no use to Hawkeye who had already prepared. Hawkeye unhurriedly changed the direction of the tip of the long sword in his hand and aimed at the bullet. Not seeing how much effort Hawkeye spent, the bullet cut itself in half along the blade and flew to both sides. HMPH, I haven't taken the bait yet. Someone hiding in the woods grunted inwardly. In sync with his words, a pitch-black bullet quietly emerged from the leaf directly in front of Hawkeye like a fallen leaf, coming first. When the bullet on the right was still rubbing against Hawkeye's knife, it had appeared less than a meter in front of Hawkeye's forehead. 0. When the speed of the bullet breaks through the speed of sound, it is possible to see the bullet before hearing the muffled sound of the gun. The bullet on the right is just a bait. Of course, this bait is insidious enough, otherwise it will not make the sniper feel pity. In addition, snipers are one of the few professions that can be forgiven even if they kill people in the points race. Facts have proved that snipers who don't hit the key in the game eventually become masters of body strokes. The sniper's anticipation shot, and the audience's excited and worried cries finally came to nothing. Isho, who was evil and charming in the direction of the sniper, moved his left hand in an instant, pulled out the small dagger hanging in his arms, and slashed at the sniper bullet. The bullet was deflected, and a bullet hole appeared on the ground behind Hawkeye. The bullet cut through the skin on his left face, and a shallow wound appeared, bleeding a little. That's all the sniper's first trump card has to offer. Hawkeye misunderstood the power of the sniper rifle. North Blue's good gun is indeed much stronger than Beckman's old man's rifle, otherwise he would not be injured at all. But it doesn't matter, the main thing is that the opponent finally shows up. Hawkeye took out his pocket watch and checked the time. Well, 2 minutes and 20 seconds, that's enough. The next moment, a sword chi waved out, and Eagle Eye flew towards the sniper as if stepping on the sword chi. Chapter 668 Foil. With the sword air washing the ground, the other two traps that the snipers had placed in the open space without even struggling came to nothing. However, snipers do not expect these two small arrangements to play any role. Taking advantage of this time, the sniper shot Hawkeye a few more times. The more troublesome thing is that the knife in Hawkeye's hand is like a magnet, which can always attract these bullets to hit the knife edge. With a slight leap, Hawkeye jumped onto a tree on the edge of the clearing. After that, he just jumped back and forth in the direction of the sniper with the help of the tree pole and going between the trees. In this way, the many traps placed on the ground by the sniper, such as mines, potholes, tripping ropes, etc., have all become useless. The sniper stared at the eagle-eyed monkey flexibly on the tree with very complicated eyes, which contained indescribable emotions, surprise, anger, complaints, etc. Fangzheng's eyes would not be kind. The distance of this kilometer is the buffer zone that the snipers set up for themselves to obstruct and restrict the opponent. Most of the arrangements are now decorations, so that the snipers have to move the sniper position backwards in advance. Of course, it took 40 minutes to arrange things, and it is impossible for snipers to leave a safe passage for the enemy. Among the trees, there are also hidden traps, but the number of them cannot keep up. About 100 meters of going, Hawkeye met the first one. A tree pole broke without warning the moment Hawkeye stepped on it. The old power was exhausted, the new power was not yet born, and the eagle eye fell along with the tree pole. Right below the eagle's eye, the ground collapsed directly, revealing a pit with a diameter of 5 meters and a depth of 7 meters. The wooden stakes at the bottom of the pit were sharpened and stood there. This person is about to fall, and he is decisively going to become string. At this time, it reflects Hawkeye's rich experience in dealing with traps and extremely fast reaction speed. At the moment when his body fell, Hawkeye threw the long sword in his right hand towards the main pole of the nearest tree, and at the same time he had already pulled out the belt around his waist and wrapped it around the hilt. The tree pole was directly pierced by the long sword, and Hawkeye used the belt to swing his body towards the tree pole pierced by the long sword. The real danger is not the trap itself, but the hunters behind the trap. The sniper rifle that had been silent for a long time fired again, aiming at Hawkeye's body and swinging in the air for a moment. The fire of the sniper rifle flashed like the snake letter of a viper, and the pitch-black bullets were deadly fangs. The sniper fired a total of 2 shots, and the 2 bullets flew in the same trajectory one after the other. The first bullet penetrated the stem of the tree in front of Chin Luo, leaving a finger-thick hole in front of Chin Luo. Because the power and speed of the bullet were consumed a lot in the process of passing through the tree, Hawkeye avoided it at will. But the second bullet is the real killer move, with the first bullet to open up territory for it. The second bullet is not hindered by any influence, and retains all the power to appear in front of Hawkeye. Its prey is the heart of the eagle eye. Heart burst, blood splattered everywhere. The scene in the imagination did not appear. The short dagger on the waist once again saved Hawkeye's life. Hawkeye's left hand pulled out a short dagger and cut out an arc, sending the bullet flying. The slashing was very neat and the process was very thrilling, but the audience in the broadcast plaza did not think it was very handsome, their hearts did not fluctuate, and they even wanted to laugh. Hawkeye's face was also a little unbearable. He only thought that the opponent would attack at this time, but he forgot some key things. Such as trousers, and trousers. Losing the support of his belt and left hand one after another, Hawkeye's black trousers slowly slid down and hooked on his ankle in front of his opponent and in front of many audiences. Tisk tisk tisk, bear-patterned underwear. Hawkeye's heart seems more coquettish than he looks. Hawkeye is definitely a hot rhythm, but this time he is taking the comedian route. Maybe 20 years later, the newspapers will turn out the lace news of the world's largest swordsman. Shocked, the world's #1 swordsman used to deter his opponents by showing his majesty and win the game. So. Today's popular style, the same bare underpants of Hawkeye Mahawk. Maybe you are only one underpants away from becoming the world's #1 swordsman. I hope that Hawkeye can accurately receive the endorsement fee and manuscript fee by then. Hawkeye casually jumped to the ground to grow his pants. He didn't care at all, he really didn't care at all. Although Hawkeye tried his best to make himself appear calm. Brother, your face is as red as Guanera's face. So, comrade snipers, hurry up and escape now. It is definitely the best choice to admit defeat and surrender now. It's a pity that the sniper didn't know the situation of Hawkeye at the moment. He could only barely see Hawkeye's upper body through many trees. The two shots just now had some prejudgment properties, but the two shots were the best that a sniper could achieve. It is a pity that the laughter of the audience cannot be shared with the sniper, and he will face all the anger of Hawkeye. At this moment, Hawkeye only thinks about one thing, and that is chop chop chop. The wild boar that suddenly came out was very annoying and was chopped off. Stepping on the log trap, the rope tied to the wood was not particular enough, so it was chopped. The trees in this section were not set up with a decent trap, and they were cut down without any distraction. There are also 3 grenades that fell from the sky after stepping on the trap. The grenades that were about to explode were amazing, and they were chopped down as usual, and they had to be chopped into pieces. Looking at Eagle Eye, who was going crazy, the sniper seemed to be more than 20 years old. He didn't even plan to run. The other party passed the kilometer within a minute, and he even ran a hammer. The sniper's mouth was big enough to fit an apple, and the sniper rifle he still held tightly in his hand was his last stubbornness. I'm very good at dodging, and my gun is very accurate. Hawkeye made the last jump and landed on the tree in front of the sniper. The two looked at each other 5 meters apart. 3.9 inches. I didn't, don't talk nonsense. This is the truest portrayal of the sniper's heart at the moment. But he didn't have a chance to say it. A dazzling sword light and an inexplicable cool feeling made him lose consciousness. Hawkeye pulled out the cross sword on his back that he had never drawn in the audition. With 2 swipe swords, a huge X-shaped sword energy swept across, sweeping the surrounding forest to the ground. The gigantic wind caused by the sword chi almost blew the sniper away. As the white light of the sword chi spread, the sniper rifle became 4 pieces of junk. The sniper's clothes did not run away, and Hawkeye directly realized the core sword skills and understood human clothes well. In the broadcast screen, there is a mosaic. After today, the world's #1 foil will be your eagle eye. Chapter 669. This is the slaughterhouse. The broadcast on the first day of the points match received a lot of praise. Many people said that they would choose to watch the next game in the broadcast square. The day's game also revealed some problems. No, the organizers tinkered with a new piece of equipment that night. This new equipment will be equipped with every competitor who enters the arena. Its only effect is to announce the player's position every 5 minutes after 30 minutes. Aren't some people very good at it? With this thing, let's see how they hide for the next half hour. Before the fierce competition turned into a disgusting bladder round, the tournament team stopped the momentum. Just today, there have been many seeded players who were dragged alive until the end of time and turned into a draw. There's no consolation prize for a tie here, and both sides get 0 points. A draw may not be profitable for the weaker players, but it is definitely a blood loss for the masters. It will not be a dream to go out with 0 points in the points match, if there is no action from the event side. And, North Blue's first martial arts conference will also become a complete joke. It might as well be called North Blue's first Peekaboo Big 19. Quote. But these are none of Chin Luo's business. His refereeing career only lasted for a short day. Even if no one complained that the referee was not doing his job properly, taking a vacation on an uninhabited island as a referee, he would carry the burden and leave. Chin Luo sometimes wondered, didn't the guys from the dinosaur family doubt their own identity? How dared to provoke his nerves several times. "Sir, this is your charcoal grilled dinosaur meat." A word from the housekeeper of the dinosaur family brought Chin Luo's thoughts back to reality, and at the same time a roasted dinosaur meat was placed in front of Chin Luo. Chin Luo was startled, picked up the knife and fork and put it down. To be honest, dinosaur meat is just like that. The first time I eat it, I still feel that the meat is fresh and tender. And the cooking methods of dinosaur meat are limited. The light sour taste in his meat is destined to only be charcoal grilled or dry fried, otherwise the soup will make people's teeth soften, like a lemon. Chin Luo's lack of appetite was noticed by the housekeeper. "My lord is thinking about the Dinosaur Research Institute. Don't worry, the island is less than half an hour away from us. According to the master's instructions, all the equipment in the Research Institute can be disclosed to you, and you can visit it at will." Saying that, the butler pointed to the front, a black spot that was getting bigger and bigger. Chin Luo sneered at this, and pouted to indicate that he knew. In fact, he has no interest at all in the Dinosaur Research Institute. What matters is the things under that research institute. Calgary is a large island, and there are many separate uninhabited islands on its edge. These islands are either too small or lack living resources. Bored rich people occasionally buy an island and build villas on it, but not much. Because this is a thankless thing, don't think that building a villa is all right. You also have to deal with pirates who may come to fight the autumn wind at any time. So this is another long-term cost, and it will cost you your life if you don't get it right. It is different from the uninhabited island that was finally used as a stadium. Since 10 years ago, the dinosaur family has chosen a small island to house the Dinosaur Research Institute. The fact that a research institute can sit firmly on the Daoyutai in this environment is full of secrets, isn't it? However, this institute is open to the outside world. In a wonderful situation, the Dinosaur Research Institute has kept the secret it wanted to hide. "Sir, I'm here, please come with me." After the ship docked, the housekeeper followed the whole journey and took Chin Luo to visit the Dinosaur Research Institute. As soon as he arrived on the island, all Chin Luo's illusions about the Dinosaur Research Institute were shattered. "Housekeeper, you don't know that I'm here on purpose," Chin Luo said with a frown. "Sir, you're joking, this situation is absolutely impossible. This is the case with the Dinosaur Research Institute. This research institute is open to the public. We can't just arrange it every time someone comes to visit," the housekeeper said. "But this," Chin Luo said helplessly. "I thought the Dinosaur Research Institute was the same as the dinosaur theme park, but it turned out to be a slaughterhouse." Just like Chin Luo said, at first he thought that the Dinosaur Research Institute would be a place where all kinds of dinosaurs would go all over the place, but there are also dinosaurs or fossils of all kinds of dinosaurs. As a result, Chin Luo saw the fossils and statues, and all that was left were rows of glass water tanks, with all kinds of rotten meat soaked in the dark green liquid. The thing that was suspected to be the excess product after the surgery for the foreskin was Tyrannosaurus rex meat. Looking at the label on the water tank, Chin Luo couldn't believe it. "Theme park. You're really joking. If that's the case, we'd already be making money by collecting tickets." Okay, butler, you were right," Chin Luo said. He was speechless. Looking at the lumps of rotten meat, Chin Luo felt a little disgusted. It just so happened that he wanted to find an excuse to get rid of the housekeeper for a while. "Housekeeper, where is the toilet here? I guess you ate something unclean," Chin Luo said while covering his stomach. "Unclean things, didn't this one eat a piece of dinosaur meat in the morning? This is a psychological effect." The housekeeper thought about it for a while, but without saying anything, he motioned the staff of the research institute to take Chin Luo there. "Are the two brothers going to the toilet with me?" Two people with the same security guard followed Chin Luo on the left and the right, and kept taking him to the toilet door, and didn't leave after that. This is not leading the way, it is completely monitoring. Chin Luo felt that the housekeeper 710 was superfluous. If he didn't want to, it would be strange that the two of them could keep up with him. Coincidentally, when Chin Luo entered the bathroom, a staff member of a research institute was also inside. "Hey, brother, go to the toilet." The man's lower body shook slightly, and it seemed that he was doing finishing work. Seeing Chin Luo, who was familiar, his face was full of doubts. "Who are you? We know each other. As the saying goes, there is a chance to meet 1,000 miles away. Come and come, brother, I'll show you a baby." Chin Luo thought this man's expression was very interesting, so he decided to tease the brother before he started. Having said that, Chin Luo has been approaching step by step. "Who are you? Don't come here, come over again and I'll call someone." For his chrysanthemum and chastity, the weak boy fought hard. However, under the mighty power of the great demon king, he could only shiver. No wonder. Chin Luo was not good at this, and directly controlled him with illusion. "So, you will stay there from now on, understand?" Chin Luo lowered his voice and pointed to a toilet. At the same time, Chin Luo took the man's white coat and hat and put it on, and walked out. Thinking about it, the shouting of this staff member has been heard outside. I saw a strange cry, perverted, and Chin Luo walked straight away in front of the two toilet doormen. Chapter 670 Labyrinth of Waterways. The entire Dinosaur Research Institute is tight on the outside and loose on the inside, which is why Chin Luo can easily escape from the eyes of the two toilet guards, and walk swaggeringly in the Research Institute. The best way to keep a secret is not to tell anyone else. The same should be true of the staff of the Dinosaur Research Institute. They may have dealt with those rotten meat all their lives on this island, but they have no idea what this island really wants to hide. Chin Luo looked for a hidden place and waited. As early as when he landed on the island, he activated the ruby ring signal generator on his right hand. After a while, a mouse found Chin Luo. The rat was crawling in front of Chin Luo, and his body gradually became larger. It was the rat man Beta who fell into Chin Luo's hands before. "It's all right, I didn't have to wait any longer. You've done everything you told you to do." The rat man did not dare to look up, and replied respectfully, "Please don't worry, my lord." Chin Luo waved his hand for the rat man to lead the way. Rat man Beta changed back to the appearance of a mouse and walked in front, while Chin Luo followed slowly. S route has been explored by rat man Beta, and he will not encounter patrolling security guards. The island itself is not big. Chin Luo and rat man Beta are not slow. They quickly left the Dinosaur Research Institute and came to the seaside cliff on the other side of the island. The waves crashed against the charred cliffs lined with reefs, creating countless white torrents. The rocks on the edge of the cliff were sharpened by the waves, giving off a chill like a sword. Normal people see this scene, not to mention being frightened by the waves, but subconsciously staying away from this area is indispensable. But Beta the rat man didn't care at all. 3 or 2, jumping back and forth over the rocks raised by the cliffs. Chin Luo floated up out of thin air and followed the rat man Beta to the bottom of the cliff. Who would have thought that there would be a small hole less than half a meter in diameter at the bottom of the cliff where strangers should not enter, and behind the small hole is even more unique. Behind the cave is a natural stone room, not big, about 50 square meters. The ground in the center of the stone room cracked open. This was a tunnel extending diagonally downward. The seawater from outside the hole was all poured into the tunnel. Beta the rat man jumped to the front of a small hole, and at the same time his rat paw pointed to a raft beside him and said, "This is specially prepared for adults. Just sit down here and I will wait for you in the next lot." Rat man Beta's attentive service Chin Luo is grateful and insensitive. Chin Luo had seen the twists and turns of the waterway below. When Darwin had just taken the Vegapunk's position out of his mouth, he had sneaked over there, but then gave up. This is a place that cannot be reached by teleportation alone. In a sense, for Chin Luo, this is a harder place than Laugh-Tale. Overlord of the Sea's teleportation ability is very limited in the precise position. A world map, no matter how you zoom in, is accurate to within a few meters, unless it is right in front of you. The research base where Vegapunk and others are hiding is just below the island of the Dinosaur Research Institute. This is a very special terrain. From the bottom of the island to the depth of 200 or 300 meters under the seabed, there are all kinds of dense water channels, which are more complicated than the veins of leaves and more numerous than the roots of trees. Seawater will flow in from the hole above the island and flow out from the lower outlet. As for what happened during the period, only the seawater knows. This is completely a three-dimensional maze. Chin Luo will only send himself to a different position in the maze every time he teleports, and then be discharged on the seabed. After trying it a few times, Chin Luo was insensitive to this kind of exciting, floating under the sea, and now Beta the Rat Man wants him to relive this feeling. Hee, you say one more thing, your little life is gone, do you believe it? No, just go your way, I have a way to keep up. Immediately Chin Luo summoned the Shenwei space, and when he reappeared, Chin Luo became a villain about the size of the mouse Beta. Ratman Beta's eyes widened. His new boss can refresh his understanding of the strong every time. Is there anything else you can't do? While the Ratman Beta was stunned, Chin Luo had already completed his operation. A sled-like thing was spread out, and the sled dog was naturally replaced by the comrade Beta who turned into a mouse. When he came back to his senses, the Ratman Beta and Chin Luo looked at each other, and the air became dignified. I make you my boss, but you want to ride me. Ratman Beta felt that his dignity was insulted. He looked around, picked up a whip from the ground and said, if the adults are uncomfortable, please hit me hard. Well, Chin Luo nodded, readily accepted Beta's proposal, and gave him a teachable look. Boy, you are very good, and you will mess with me in the future. And our loyal rat turned his head and ran away in the hole he dug himself. What is dignity? Can it help him live a more nourishing life? And if not, what else should he do? Vegapunk's institute is located near the bottom of these turbulent currents. Here lies the only known waterway of the Danethal family. After Darwin's rejuvenation of the dinosaur family, he spent years building a secret base here. So when Vegapunk came to seek cooperation and a secret research base, Darwin thought of this for the first time. Ships, responsible for supplying secret bases, submarines are not ships. After another 2 days and 1 night of fighting, Vegapunk returned to his dormitory. Vegapunk didn't choose to rest the first time. After closing the door, he activated the mechanism, and the glass jar containing the devil's heart that was hidden in his dormitory slowly rose up. Since the immature devil fruit essence was injected into the devil's heart that day, the devil's corpse also showed signs of resurrection. One knows the situation better than Vegapunk himself, first moving his fingers, then rolling his eyes this time, the monster staring at him while he is experimenting. Pandora's box, or the Demon King's seal. Vegapunk is contradictory. He doesn't know whether to destroy the heart. All indications are that the resurrection of the demon is related to this heart. But he was reluctant to destroy this experiment that had been full of painstaking efforts for many years. On the ground with his head in his hands, Vegapunk was caught in a dilemma. At this time, he saw a strange thing at his feet. Long tail, pointed beak, gray hair. Vegapunk smirked and rubbed his eyes. After cultivating immortals for a long time, there will be some strange hallucinations. How could there be mice in such a place? Chapter 671 Cross-Border Pen Pal. It must be a hallucination. I really. Halfway through the sentence, Vegapunk's words got stuck in Vegapunk's throat. Not only did the mouse not disappear, but it also waved its paws at him. Emotion is still a mouse that can say hello. Was a black finger-sized thing lying on the ground beside the mouse's feet, and Vegapunk looked familiar no matter what. This thing is almost exactly the same as the alarm device he set up at the door of the dormitory. A thought flashed through Vegapunk's head, and to be honest, he was a little confused. I haven't seen a mouse in a few years, but as soon as I met it, I met Kid the Thief, and Lupin the Third, among the mice. Vegapunk fell to the ground in confusion. He couldn't believe it, and his carefully designed security equipment was easily dismantled by a mouse. Of course, the blow was only temporary. In less than 5 seconds, the first thing Vegapunk did when he came back to his senses was to consider dissecting the mouse to see what the structure of his brain was. Ratman Beta is the most sensitive to maliciousness and danger. The moment Vegapunk was about to attack, it slipped past Vegapunk's crotch. One chased and the other ran, causing the room to jump around. Fortunately, before Vegapunk 900 entered the room, Chinluo arranged a barrier with a mute effect to isolate the air at the periphery of the room. Otherwise, there must be a bunch of people eating melons who don't know the truth around the gate. This cat-and-mouse farce should end as soon as possible, he is still in a hurry. So Chinluo said slowly, Dr. Vegapunk, I'm glad to meet you back to the room, otherwise I'll have to take some measures. The so-called means is obviously the alarm that was removed. Then did Vegapunk realize that more than one rat had entered the room. In the dark part of the room, a silhouette emerged from the darkness. Vegapunk was shocked at first, then quickly calmed down. Who are you? I don't remember such a number one among the 8 factions. Vegapunk leaned against his desk and stared at the silhouette in the dark. Gun and button in hand. All of Vegapunk's little actions were watched by Chinluo. Dr. Vegapunk, you don't need to be so nervous. Trust me, you won't get any news out without my permission. Ghosts, Vegapunk said that he found a treasure. After Chinluo said this, not only did the tension not disappear, but there was also an urge to shoot the other party on the spot. I wonder if you read the Global Times, Dr. Clam, what is that? Dr. Vegapunk looked puzzled. I mean, can you receive news from outside North Blue? Chinluo said. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, you're not from North Blue. Vegapunk quickly grasped the information revealed in Chinluo's words. HMPH, since that's the case, I don't know if you recognize this mask. Chinluo walked out of the darkness, but instead of his previous outfit, he changed back to Lu Yun's outfit. Speaking of which, Vegapunk came to North Blue to work as a senior technical house before he became famous, and Chinluo was not sure whether the other party could recognize him. It would be embarrassing if not. Lu Yun, Vegapunk exclaimed, there are not many people in the whole world who don't know about this look. Whether it is a god or a demon, the strength of the opponent makes the whole world terrified. Chinluo breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that he didn't need a stupid self-introduction. Doesn't the doctor suspect that I'm pretending? No need, this secret base of the Dinosaur family is not something that anyone can sneak into. If you have such strength, why do you need to disguise others? Vegapunk said coldly. As for the gun and alarm in his hand, he also put down. After confirming that the other party was Lu Yun, not a spy from the 8 forces, he gave up the idea of struggling. Since this is the case, I will come to the gate of opening. Dr. Vegapunk, I appreciate your ability, come and be my research director. Chinluo spread his right hand towards Vegapunk, making an invitation. This gesture and rhetoric Chinluo still learned to confess someone. Chinluo felt that this gesture and statement must contain some kind of special magic, otherwise someone would not have received a bunch of suns by this. Normally, shouldn't the response to, I'm your dad, be, MDZZ, or, NM, so there must be something wrong with the posture. Unfortunately, Chinluo did not learn the essence of it. I refuse. Vegapunk declined without hesitation. Don't rush to make a decision, let's look at the benefits first, and someone else asked me to give you a message. Chinluo walked to Vegapunk's side and whispered softly in his ear. Because of the low voice, Ratman Beta pricked up his ears and didn't overhear anything. Vegapunk's expression is very exciting. At the beginning, he was unmoved. Later, he was shocked, admired, horrified. All kinds of expressions, and the number was enough to make a complete expression pack. Give me a moment, I need to think about it. Vegapunk looked solemn, still digesting the news he had just received. Chinluo was very satisfied with Vegapunk's performance. Before coming, Chinluo and someone who asked him to speak had guessed Vegapunk's possible reaction. This kind of entanglement means that the other party has moved. Vegapunk's face changed no matter what kind of benefits Chinluo said before, but what someone asked him to bring played a key role. In any world, only the mad can understand the mad. Their thoughts and ordinary people are completely two parallel lines, and they do not meet at all. As for this person, it was obviously Orochimaru. Okay, use this to contact me when you figure it out. I'll be here. Chinluo left two things on Vegapunk's table. The first item was an old pocket watch with a red liquid clearly flowing under it. The other thing is a box the size of a slap. The inside of the box is engraved with various runes, and the snake that has been hibernating lies in it. Take off the button of the pocket watch and I'll come. As for this snake, it's a messenger. Write what you want to say to that person on paper. The rune in the box is a two-way psychic formation designed by Orochimaru, which can make the messenger snake shuttle back and forth between Vegapunk and Orochimaru. What is this? He found a cross-border pen pal for Orochimaru. Chinluo was really in a hurry. It was almost half an hour since he came out. It was almost time for him to leave. Finally, I advise you, Dr. Vegapunk, this heart is not a good thing. I suggest you stop studying it. Chinluo said sincerely. Chapter 672 with prior appointment. The devil's heart is not a good thing. Chinluo watched Vegapunk take it out. Just like the old wine that has been opened, the evil spirit swept the whole room the moment it appeared in the heart. With Vegapunk's strength, it's understandable that he can't sense this evil spirit. But Chinluo didn't think Vegapunk couldn't hear the heartbeat every few seconds. With more knowledge, Chinluo's hunch became very accurate. The heart felt like Kaido of the beasts, even more threatening. Of course it's also possible that Vegapunk knows everything, but he's reluctant to give up on this crazy experiment. A fanatical scientist and a lunatic are the same thing, and Chinluo doesn't think he can convince Vegapunk with just a few words of his own. He said it all, it's up to Vegapunk to listen to it or not. The process of returning is very simple. Chinluo can directly ignore the complicated waterway and teleport back to the toilet twice in succession. After releasing the control of the brother who was squatting in place of Chinluo, who had resumed his disguise, appeared in front of the housekeeper again. Look at the fake smile on the butler's face. Perhaps the old housekeeper of the dinosaur family was still complacent that he had kept the family's secret and disgusted Chinluo. The housekeeper would never have guessed that the secret he tried so hard to hide was officially told to him by Darwin, the owner of the house, and he just went to confirm it. Who is the fool and who is the actor? At the same time, Chinluo and the housekeeper showed the same kind smile. The thoughts in their hearts are highly consistent. Lo and behold, the idiot on the opposite side can still laugh so happily after being deceived. The dinosaur family is so unkind, and they took advantage of Chinluo when they sent Chinluo back to Calgary. Under the dissemination of caring people, Chinluo's identity as the referee in the number 3 area of the uninhabited island was severely publicized. The newspapers of the day published photos of Chinluo biting the grilled fish announcing the result of the game. It doesn't matter what the evaluation of the year's most paddling referee and the least dedicated performance is, Chinluo doesn't care. However, due to the special nature of Area 3, many forces took the initiative to find Chinluo, hoping that he would take care of the 6 contestants of the C-Spell experimental during the competition. To put it bluntly, these forces are immortal, and I want to consume more of these people's strength in the game, so that I can catch them on the periphery of the game. It is impossible for Chinluo to be the referee of the Black Whistle. Not to mention that he didn't plan to make Orochimaru's game more difficult, and Chinluo didn't have the ability to be a Black Whistle. In his last life, he had never been trained in this area of expertise in South Korea or Golden State in the United States. Therefore, it is impossible to be a black whistle, and it is impossible to be a black whistle in this life. You can only rely on methods such as fishing and barbecue to survive the boring time of being a referee. So these forces came to the door. Chin Luo is not suspicious. He is 100% sure that it was the dinosaur family who disclosed his information. After sending Chin Luo to the port, the dinosaur family's boat turned and drove away immediately, afraid of being entangled by something. As for what he is avoiding, you can tell by looking at the reactions of the people around you. After the boat of the dinosaur family left, all the people within 100 meters of Chin Luo's side stopped, as if time had stopped. These people looked at Chin Luo, and after a comparison, they slowly gathered around. "You're the referee, great, our boss wants to meet you." The four burly men who looked like workers at the head stretched out their hands to pull Chin Luo. They have always been good at this kind of negotiation. Chin Luo directly ignored these four people, and it was too much effort to take a look. He twisted his feet, took a step and twisted away and left them behind. The four strong men did not expect Chin Luo to bypass them so easily. He was furious, and he was about to show Chin Luo a good look with his fists. It seems that on the first day of the points competition, Chin Luo arranged some information about the forces to be concealed, otherwise there would not be such an invisible force, and he wanted to please Chin Luo in this way. Chin Luo opened his eyes behind his back, and the four burly men made a gesture with their fists as big as sandbags, but they didn't even touch the corners of Chin Luo's clothes. But when he punched again, for some reason, these punches finally slammed into the heads of the people around him, and then all fainted to the ground. In front of everyone, these four strong men deduced a paragraph called, "Protect my enemies, beat my teammates." This weird imagination scared off some people, but there were still guys who thought the backstage was tough enough. A group of guys over 20 blocked Chin Luo's road. "Sir, the Lord of Germa wants you to be able to attend tonight's party." Yes, it was another person who came to invite him. Although he spoke in human words, his tone was completely arrogant. The unmoved look in Chin Luo's eyes, the person who invited Chin Luo said again, "This friend, it is good to have some ability, but it is very fatal to see the situation clearly. The friendship of the Germa kingdom is not so good. Very refusal." Saying that, the man seemed to think that Chin Luo could not decide, so he took out an invitation and handed it over. "The friendship of the kingdom of Germa, what the hell is this? Going to a party seems to be a good way to pass the time, but for the party, add a spontaneous acquaintance, with a bad track record. It's like following an inexplicable public account in order to try it." Chin Luo refused. 0. Chin Luo stretched out his hand, and with the expression on Germa's face I knew would be like this, he brushed past the invitation. Chin Luo grabbed the speaker's shoulder and pulled him aside to make way. "Rang rang, I'm very busy, don't invite me for anything. If you need to make an appointment with my secretary first," Chin Luo said softly as he walked past the dull-faced Germa man. Germa's group was about to have a seizure on the spot, but was stopped by the leader. "No hurry," said, the one who took the lead gave the other forces a wink. After learning that even Germa's people had closed the door, other forces also put out their intention to invite Chin Luo, and it was the correct choice to knock him out and bring him back. Especially after getting the eyes of the Germa people, they rushed towards Chin Luo without any scruples. "What do you think when you see the guy rushing like a wolf, Spartan? No, 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 this is a bunch of little brothers." Chin Luo stood on the spot, took a deep breath, and then grinned. "Isho, a king," aura burst out from him and swept the audience. A gust of wind blew, and those who rushed towards Chin Luo all fell to the ground, and even Germa's people were only the one who took the lead and still had some consciousness. Chapter 673 Win an Ally. Before losing consciousness, the leader of the Germa kingdom opened his mouth slightly, as if he had something to say. "This person is likely to recognize Conqueror Hockey," Chin Luo guessed. "Doesn't this kind of scene happen often in movies?" Before the end, I was yelled at by the dragon of the second, why are you so strong? Hee, Chin Luo still has a little expectation. He is quite satisfied with the progress of his hockey mastery, and now he can use armament hockey. Sure enough, he is a genius. Chin Luo leaned up, tapped his right finger, and gave the crumbling friend one last hand. At this time, he also heard clearly what the man said. The fart, poisonous. Chin Luo has a black question mark on his face, meow meow meow. Chin Luo strongly suspects that this person not only has a brain problem, but is also blind. This is obviously whether Conqueror hockey is good or not. Although Chin Luo added a brewing process, how can the matter of taking a deep breath in the dantian be a fart? This short-sighted fellow must be educated well, even if he has passed out. Chin Luo greeted him with a long-lost set of unrecognizable feet. Today, the great life mentor Chin Luo is going to teach this student from the kingdom of Germa what it means to be prudent in words and deeds. If you dare to say one more word, your life will be lost, do you believe it? What happened at the port spread all over Calgary that night, and everyone talked about the macho who beat 100 to 1. Well, it doesn't matter what 100 people kill or something, the main thing is that the supporting characters who were beaten up are more famous. Like the Eagle Dog of the Kingdom of Germa, members of several major underground gangs in North Blue, some forces in Calgary, etc., are all on the list. Especially when he came to claim these guys, the Eagle Dog of the Germa Kingdom seemed to be beaten very badly, and the injury was really on the verge of disfigurement. What does it mean to be beaten so much that your own mother doesn't know it? That's all. Good things don't go out, bad things travel thousands of miles. Even if Chin Luo was a low-key master, the forces who were beaten did not dare to speak out, but under the vigorous publicity of someone who did not want to be named, these forces enjoyed rolling eyes and laughing for several days. Asshole. In a study room, the old Vinsmoke threw the report away, with blue veins on his head, and slapped the table frantically. He was so angry that he was madly satirized by Darwin at the party just now. I was able to maintain my mentality before, but now after receiving the report from my subordinates, my anger was unstoppably released like a flood that burst a dike. And the one who was slapped in the face by the report was the one who went, please, Chin Luo. Now he was wrapped in bandages, and he couldn't see the expression on his face. Trash, I won't even invite anyone. Now the whole North Blue people are laughing at us. How can you have the face to come back alive? Old Vinsmoke continued to growl. He knelt down on the ground with sincerity and fear, not daring to let out the air. Instead, a clerk next to him stood up and interceded for him. The clerk picked up a few pages of the report that had fallen on the ground, and said as he looked at it. Your Majesty, rest your anger, that old fox Darwin just wants to provoke you, don't let him succeed. At no cost, but in the name of the enemy. This special method of persuasion was very effective, and sure enough, the old Vinsmoke, who was about to become the rage leader, calmed down again. Your Majesty, look here. The clerk pointed to somewhere on the report. The strange attack method knocked down everyone present. Does this description sound very familiar to you? Old Vinsmoke looked over and waited for the clerk's next statement. At the time of the audition, there was a pirate group that was in the limelight, the Red Hair Pirates. I don't know if His Majesty still has an impression. Their Captain Shanks is the youngest known owner of Conqueror Hockey. Quote. You mean this guy can also Conqueror Hockey? Old Vinsmoke exclaimed. No wonder the old Vinsmoke was surprised. In the second half of the Great Route, the number of people who own Conqueror Hockey in the New World is also a small number, and even fewer in North Blue, almost becoming a legend. Now two suddenly appeared in a short period of time, and anyone would suspect a wave of life. The possibility is very high. But don't worry too much, Your Majesty, the relationship between this person and the Dinosaur family should not be very good. According to the description of the following people, after the Dinosaur family's ship put down this man, that he ran away without looking back, knowing that there was an ambush. Darwin took advantage of his guest. The secretary's analysis made old Vinsmoke heave a sigh of relief. If it wasn't a bit tricky, the dinosaur family's move would be too strange. Darwin, the old fox, is not only cunning, but also ruthless, and anyone dares to take advantage of it. But if you do too much of this kind of thing, one day you will shoot yourself in the foot. Old Vinsmoke immediately made plans to draw Chin Luo to deal with the dinosaur family. He didn't believe that Chin Luo couldn't see that the dinosaur family was using him as a gunner. And this task, he handed over to the secretary. All arrangements and plans, the ultimate goal is the dinosaur family. Tell me how the other plans are going. Old Vinsmoke leaned back in his chair with his eyes closed. Everything went well. There is news that the Darwin guy got the support of several other forces in some way. The secretary said. The 8 major factions that support Vegapunk's research, excluding the Germa Kingdom and the faction that joined the Don Quixote family. It also means Darwin has contributed to 6 alliances. The 6 alliances are so scary. The corner of old Vinsmoke's mouth twitched, with a bit of disdain. Darwin, the old fox, was too clever in his calculations, and in the end his vision bound him. What is North Blue for North Blue people? The slogan was a joke, Darwin had called it, so had his old Vinsmoke. I thought that by relying on this alliance, I would be able to resist the 3 forces of Marine, the Don Quixote family and the Kingdom of Germa. Darwin thought too well. The end, North Blue's last name is either Dinosaur or Vinsmoke, and of course Don Quixote is also very likely. Old Vinsmoke was not worried about the 2 of these 6 families at all. He had been holding a killer weapon in his hand, and as long as it was released, all Darwin's current efforts could be disintegrated. Let him be complacent for a while, and then give him the final blow. Marine's side, how did they reply? Old Vinsmoke asked. Kuzan still hasn't shown up, but his lieutenant has indicated that Marine is willing to cooperate with the plan, the clerk said. Fine, Marine's side agrees. If the other party doesn't agree, old Vinsmoke will have a headache, and he doesn't want to cooperate with Don Quixote at all. Chapter 674 Subject Lost Contact. On the 4th day of the points match, all the players have a rough idea of their strength. It is no exaggeration to say that some of the guys who are sitting firmly in the Daoyutai have already begun to study their opponents in the knockout round. Shutting off the job of the referee, Chin Luo freely shuttled between the viewing seats in various areas of the broadcast plaza. He basically watched the games of acquaintances, such as the Red Hair Pirates, the Don Quixote family, Tiyuya, Corazon and so on. However, Chin Luo didn't pay attention to a few of the C-spell experimental subjects under Orochimaru. Because paying attention is useless, in the words of Orochimaru. It is not easy for these experimental subjects who participated in the martial arts conference to survive the points competition with their physical condition. Not to mention the knockout rounds that follow, surviving 2 rounds can be considered a medical miracle. The 6 people who were exposed in the audition, Orochimaru judged that they would not even survive the start of the points match, unless all the subsequent battles did not need to be transformed. Of course, this possibility is basically 0, and even the other 8 hidden C-spell experimental subjects were forced out on the first day of the competition. Poor guinea pigs, your attending doctor has given you death notices. Think about how Orochimaru fooled these 15 people before. Gold 19 money, power, fame, revenge. As long as you have power, you can have everything, and now there is an opportunity to give you great power, you can't come. These guys all fell into Orochimaru's language trap, and all he promised was power from start to finish. As for other things, it depends on whether they can handle it themselves before they collapse. Tell me, what's the matter with me in such a hurry? In a small alley next to the broadcast square, Chin Luo said to Orochimaru. Since Orochimaru arrived in Calgary, it was the first time he took the initiative to come to Chin Luo. So even if the game he was watching wasn't over yet, Chin Luo came out immediately. But when Chin Luo turned around and saw the person coming, he was shocked. At this moment, Orochimaru is wearing a Japanese-style yukata, holding a Zen staff like a big killer in his hand. His skin is dark blue, some fish-like fins are borne on his hands and feet and behind him, and his height is more than 2 meters. Totally a greasy and beefy fish man. If it wasn't for the special feeling between Chinluo and his summoned servant, Chinluo would have thought that he had made a mistake. Is this still the sick Orochi pill that looks like a small subject all the year round? The 2-meter-high fish man painting style in front of him is also too different from the main body of Orochimaru. It turns out that the fish man warrior is you. Chinluo exclaimed. Various races appeared in this martial arts conference. Except for the rare giants, there are all kinds of bulls, ghosts, snakes and gods. However, when Chinluo heard that a powerful fish man warrior appeared, he was still surprised. Because logically speaking, the people of the Fishman clan are now frantically moving bricks for the new city of Atlantis, so why would they come to North Blue to participate in a martial arts conference? The big fishman grinned, and at the same time his body quickly dried down. The fish scale skin and scepter degenerated into a mud-like thing, and finally indented into a meat bead on Orochimaru's hand. The body of Orochimaru in a white coat was revealed. Chinluo stretched his neck, widened his eyes, and finally gave up asking about the meat beads. It's not that I'm worried that Orochimaru won't explain. The problem is that Chinluo really doesn't necessarily understand this kind of technology, so don't humiliate yourself. Pretending not to see Chinluo's embarrassment, Orochi-wan took the meatballs back and said, one of the experimental subjects was captured. That's it. Chinluo was a little puzzled. Don't you care about these experimental subjects? Why are you worried if you are too lazy to collect corpses? Chinluo didn't think Orochimaru was a conscious discovery and wanted to rescue this experimental body. The probability of Orochimaru's kindness is basically the same as that of a sow climbing a tree. It doesn't matter if he dies. I am confident that my technology cannot be replicated by others. But this experimental body is different. He was taken away alive. Having said that, Orochimaru pondered for a while and continued, I suspect that this experimental subject has joined forces with a certain force. Said to be suspicious, but the anger and killing intent in Orochimaru's eyes almost solidified. Don't say that you didn't leave behind these experiments. Chinluo said. Of course, there is a biological bomb next to the heart of these experimental subjects. As long as my thoughts move or the other party dies, the bomb will blow this person into a pile of rotten meat. Orochimaru clenched his hands fiercely. So, this experimental body. The connection between me and the bomb on the number HC09 was cut off and could not be detonated. But if the other party thinks that I have no other way, it would be too naive. There is a positioning array directly in that C spell, no matter how well they hide it. Not yet in my eyes. Quote. This time Orochimaru was angry, but a guinea pig dared to play tricks in front of him. You must know that Orochimaru has been experimenting for so many years, and what kind of experimental product recovery work has not been done. The other party is provoking him in his field. But even so, you are enough alone. Do you still need to take me with you? This time is different. My experimental subject seems to be attached to a very powerful force, the Don Quixote family. I think adults will not be unfamiliar. Chinluo didn't expect that it would be this Force 013 who dug the corner of Orochimaru. If the opponent was Doflamingo, it is no wonder that Orochimaru wanted to call him. I see, lead the way, but in the Don Quixote family there is a little boy from our side, so don't accidentally hurt him. Chinluo motioned for Orochimaru to go ahead, and the number 9 experimental body disappeared in less than an hour. It should be more than enough for them to rush over now. I try not to kill him. Orochimaru's face was full of anger. Chinluo sighed and handed the photo of Corazon to Orochimaru, praying silently for him, hoping that he would not fall into Orochimaru's hands so unlucky. A warehouse on the edge of the port, which was originally the stronghold of this gangster, but after the arrival of the Don Quixote family, the gangster disappeared. The warehouse has naturally become the stuff of the Don Quixote family. On the surface, however, the Shanghai gangs dominate the warehouse. Dirty warehouse, originally empty basement full of various instruments. Number HC09, that is, the escaped experiment, floating in a huge glass jar. There's a thumb-sized hole in front of his heart on his left chest, through which Doflamingo's thin thread is wrapping the bomb around. A mask is worn on the face numbered HC09, through which he can breathe and communicate with people outside. Chapter 675 Murderous Competition. The connection between experimental number 9 and the Don Quixote family was also after the start of the points competition. Although a large number of armed prosthetic limbs users have drawn a lot of attention, there are still forces such as the Don Quixote family, the Germa Kingdom, and the Dinosaur family who keep following up on the C-spell experimental subjects. Number HC09 is quite a coincidence. In the first game, I met the cadres of the Don Quixote family. Under the temptation of the Don Quixote family Shiono, it is also possible to feel the deep malice behind Orochimaru's lies. For the sake of profit, but also to survive, the number HC09 cooperated with the Don Quixote family. On the fourth day of the points race, the opportunity that no HC09 and the Don Quixote family had been waiting for appeared. No, HC09 found out that Orochimaru's schedule overlapped with his, and this was the best time. Don Quixote family directly bribed the opponent numbered HC09, and the opponent chose to surrender as soon as they came to power. On the other hand, Orochimaru encountered a slick peekaboo player, and it took half an hour to find out that there was something wrong with the number HC09. Taking advantage of this rare time, the Don Quixote family did a full-body examination for the number HC09 and found the backhand that Orochimaru placed on his heart. Doflamingo himself wrapped the bomb in layers of Shadow Rider wire, cutting off the connection between the bomb and Orochimaru. Doflamingo, I'm ready. The words fell. Doflamingo clenched his hands when he pulled out the Shadow Rider line, and the bomb was pulled out from the hole in the chest of HC09. The sputtered blood quickly stained the solution in the glass jar. Target is in a coma, heart rate drops. Vital signs are normal, target is awake, and separation is successful. With the announcement of the results, the dangling hearts were relieved. Hey, I'm still alive, Doflamingo, should you give me what you promised me? Because he was very weak, the number HC09 said in a hoarse voice. Don't worry, it's just a small nobleman from your hometown. Tomorrow their whole family's heads will be sent to you. As for the 200 million Bailey, even if I take it out, can you still take it with your current physical condition? No, HC09 out of sight, Doflamingo's face was plunged into complete darkness with a mocking smile. He said this just to stabilize the number HC09. He had already fallen into his hands and wanted to make conditions with him. After all, he was just a young man. Okay, I'll wait. Don't lie to me, it's a big deal. Pity that the threat numbered HC09 is a little weak, and Doflamingo doesn't even bother to pay attention to him. Hee, number 9, I thought you found such a great accomplice and dared to betray me. Now it seems that your vision has not been very good. This Doflamingo is completely empty-handed, and only a fool would believe it. Suddenly, a high-pitched voice echoed in the warehouse. No, it's impossible, how did you find it here? The panicked look of the number HC09 inside the glass jar is very telling. The owner of this voice is obviously the familiar Orochimaru. Doflamingo's ears twitched, and his eyes swept across the warehouse roof. Looks like a big mouse has come. Towards the roof of the warehouse, 4 bullet threads shot out from Doflamingo's hands, with a power far exceeding that of machine gun bullets, and the steel bracket in front of the bullet threads was cut open like tofu. In the end, 4 bullet wires hit the roof, causing a large explosion. Amidst the smoke and dust, a figure fell to the ground. At this time, Orochimaru, according to Chin Luo's request, wore a broken linen cloak on his body, and wore a pure black mask on his face to hide his identity. Chin Luo, who came with Orochimaru, didn't show up. He made an appointment with Orochimaru, and he didn't have to shoot unless necessary. Orochimaru is not a master who is willing to suffer. The moment it hit the ground, the poisonous snake in the hidden snake hand broke through the smoke. Several poisonous snakes opened their mouths wide, and their sharp fangs flashed cold light, biting at Doflamingo's limbs. Doflamingo shot with his left and right hands, each with several bullets colliding with the viper, intercepting it. A sneer flashed across Orochimaru's mouth. His attack was not so easy to block. When Doflamingo was too busy to move his left and right hands, the ground under his feet suddenly swelled into a dirt bag, and a large white snake broke out of the ground, cutting Doflamingo from bottom to top at a very high speed, cutting it into two sections. The big white snake retreated with one blow and hid back to the ground. And Doflamingo, who was dismembered, did not splatter any blood, and the wound sections of the two corpses revealed various cut-off threads. From the very beginning, what appeared in front of the number HC09 was a clone of Doflamingo's shadow writing line. The split doll turned into a pile of dense threads, intertwined, and turned into Doflamingo's appearance again. Doflamingo, who was in action, came out from the other side of the warehouse clapping his hands. Doflamingo's real body and avatar merged together, and the two opened their mouths at the same time and said, "It's really good. If it wasn't for the avatar, I would be dead." "You're too modest, Lord Doflamingo's abilities are quite annoying. It will take me a lot of effort to kill you." Orochimaru's killing intent poured out unreservedly, and the air between him and Doflamingo was filled with disgust. "It's a little more serious. Oh, you're so confident you can kill me." The same murderous aura was released from Doflamingo's body, and the two murderous auras collided in the air, leaving a distorted band visible to the naked eye in the space. "Then you have to keep your eyes open." After saying that, Orochimaru's eyes became colder, and the killing intent became more stern, and the twisted belt extended a few meters in the direction of Doflamingo. "Then I'm really looking forward to it." Doflamingo's expression changed slightly. It was the first time he had lost in a murderous competition. It was useless to admit defeat. The twisted belt caused by the murderous collision was moving towards him little by little. A slight movement of his right index finger, Doflamingo had already controlled the doll to attack Orochimaru. Hundreds of threads flew out from the doll, and these threads surrounded Orochimaru from all sides. The threads are intertwined and intertwined, like a twisting tornado of threads. Immediately, these threads were instantly folded to complete the strangulation of Orochimaru. These threads were constantly twisting and tightening, squeezing the flesh and blood from Orochimaru. Red blood flowed out from the gaps in the thread, dyeing the ground red. The killing process was unbelievably easy, but Doflamingo became more careful. Orochimaru was not an existence that could be killed so easily. The thread that was tied to Orochimaru was slowly peeled off and turned into a doll again. The strangled Orochimaru also revealed the true colors of Mount Lu. This person was a researcher of the Don Quixote family, and the location just now should be near the number HC09. Chapter 676 Seal of Liberation. The dead objects that can be used as stand-ins are not just rocks and wood. As long as the technology meets the standards, humans and animals are included. Orochimaru, who has raised his technical nerd level to the max, obviously has no shortage of skills. Orochimaru only felt that his eyes were blinded, and he ushered in a fate that he could not bear at his age. With comminuted fractures all over his body, his blood was blurred, and this unfortunate ghost was definitely not alive. "You're really hard at it, Doflamingo." After the appearance of the unlucky ghost was seen, Orochimaru also walked from the shadows to the glass jar numbered HC09. The fingers of his right hand tapped the glass jar lightly, and in the mask, Orochimaru Snake Hitomi's peripheral vision swept to the serial number HC09, just in line with his eyes. Trembling involuntarily spread through the whole body of HC09, and at this moment he remembered the fear of being dominated by Orochimaru on the experimental bench. Orochimaru pressed his fingers on the glass jar, and as his fingers sank deeper, the cracks spread out like a spider's web. "I just had a question for you on the way here," Orochimaru said lightly, with a tone as calm as a chatter. I give you this power, whether it's money, power, or a chance for revenge, whichever one will follow. 237 Why can't you be patient? Why betray me? I'm your benefactor. Knowing that Orochimaru couldn't let himself go, no. HC09 gave up the unrealistic idea of begging for mercy. As the first experimental subject who dared to betray Orochimaru, the number HC09 was still a little timid, and he hurriedly packed up his inner fear, and cursed through the glass jar. Benefactor, stop joking. That monster-like appearance is your kindness to us. We are nothing more than your guinea pigs. Without us, there would also be another group of people who became the victims of your experiments. There is also the death of number 3. It's no accident. Orochimaru is not angry at all. The guinea pig will always resist symbolically when he knows his destiny. He has become accustomed to it. After all, there are very few people who can resist successfully like Sasuke. On the other hand, Orochimaru was surprised when he heard about the third subject from the number HC09. As a reward for surprising him, Orochimaru's fingers increased a little more. I know a lot, but you guessed wrong about one thing. You are indeed special, and people who are not determined can't survive the experiment. As for you calling the power I gave you a monster, that's even more ridiculous. There is only gain but no effort. How can there be such a good thing in the world? I think Dover-kun also agrees with the view below. Doflamingo didn't expect that Orochimaru and the number HC09 would suddenly pull on him while chatting. But he was also happy to drag time with Orochimaru. Since Orochimaru appeared next to the number HC09, Doflamingo's side lost the opportunity. Because of the betrayal by the number HC09, the Don Quixote family has already torn apart the mysterious force of Orochimaru. If it wasn't for the fear of Orochimaru's desperate tearing up, Doflamingo would have rushed up to fight him. Even so, Doflamingo used Orochimaru's conversation with HC09 to dispatch troops and surround Orochimaru. Yeah, there is no free lunch in the world. If I had known that my collaborator was so naive, I would never have chosen him. Doflamingo said helplessly with his hands outstretched. Don't choose. Orochimaru won't believe Doflamingo's nonsense. Such a deceitful guy, Doflamingo is probably going to deceive him all over the place. Speaking of which, have we met? I always feel like I've seen you somewhere. Now that he has joined the topic, Doflamingo simply continued to chat with Orochimaru to buy more time. Doflamingo's words are not completely to deceive Orochimaru. He is doubting the identity of this mysterious force from the beginning. Mainly it was the appearance of the sea mantra experimental body after transformation and the black flame-like marks that filled the whole body during transformation. The effect was too much like a small pill given to them by a certain force. Dinosaur family and the kingdom of Germa are too far away from the new world to know about the small pill. But Doflamingo had a bottle of this stuff in his hand, so how could he not be suspicious? It would be too far-fetched to say that this similarity is all due to luck. After a moment's pause, Orochimaru said, guess what? Guess your sister, the melon eaters who were looking forward to it before almost rushed to the street. The style of painting is not right at all, bro, you have taken the wrong script. You are a perverted scientist who is playful and sassy. Orochimaru doesn't have the idea of hiding his identity, so what if it is exposed? I, Blue Yungong, have intervened in North Blue, so what can you do to me? It was only because of Chin Luo's orders that he forbore Ed. Otherwise, Orochimaru would have taken out Blue Yun Palace's mark and threw it on Doflamingo's face. Do you still want the antidote? If you want, you can, just lie down on the test bench and let me puncture it. It happens that I have a new idea and lack a healthy guinea pig. At the same time, this also proves one thing: optimism is really contagious. As long as you stay with optimists like Feijuan and Roger for a long time, you will find that you are really happy. Dover-kun, you are a smart person, you can just guess some ideas in your heart, it's not appropriate to say them. Orochimaru added later. Hehe, if Doflamingo was just guessing before, now he is 70 to 80% sure, that force has intervened, and Orochimaru is their representative. The sound of crackling sounded, and the conversation ended here. The glass jar shattered into pieces, revealing the number HC09 inside. Not all of Doflamingo's arrangements are complete, but for now, he can only bite the bullet. Stop him and save the man. Doflamingo's order was issued, and many sniper rifles streaked a beam of light and shot at Orochimaru. He himself also used the fastest bullet to block between Orochimaru and number HC09. Orochimaru pulled up a wall of earth to surround him and the serial number HC09, and ignored the attacks. The number HC09 from the ground, since you call that form a monster, then I will punish you for being a monster forever. Orochimaru pressed the right palm on the curse mark on the back of the neck of HC09. The left hand quickly formed the mark, the curse mark emitted a bright light, and the shape changed accordingly, and all the energy originally bound in the curse mark was released. By the way, in fact, I have always been an honest and trustworthy person, and I will naturally do what I promise you. Of course, in his heart, Orochimaru added, if you can live as long as you can. Chapter 677 Monster Runaway. Mere wall of earth could not stop the attacks of Doflamingo and the others, and it only supported the collapse in less than a breath of time. It's impossible to keep Orochimaru from touching the nearby number HC09, although Doflamingo and others attacked fast enough. But the number HC09 can't be killed by Orochimaru without any resistance. From Doflamingo's point of view, even if the number HC09 is transformed, even if they resist Orochimaru a few times, they can support their attack. Orochimaru doesn't want to be hit by that time, he must keep his distance from the serial number HC09. And once the distance is drawn, it will be difficult for Orochimaru to hurt the number HC09 in the hands of so many people. Doflamingo only needs to ensure that the number HC09 is not a corpse when he is rescued by him. As for whether it is the living number HC09 or the dying number HC09, it does not matter. Along those lines, Doflamingo's plan certainly works. But he should not have thought that Orochimaru would use this method to deal with the serial number HC09, which is much more time-saving and labor-saving than force killing. The earth wall collapsed, revealing the Orochimaru and the number HC09 enclosed within it. That scene made everyone feel weird. Number HC09's state is very wrong, although it doesn't look like his life is in danger, but he is swollen like a meatball. Orochimaru floated away, and those attacks didn't even wipe the edge of his clothes. How could someone who was clamoring to kill him just back off so easily? He didn't even take the life of HC09. Doflamingo frowned, realizing it wasn't easy. There are no cadres under Doflamingo who participated in the competition. Diamante, Laoji, Mahabe, Gladius and others took advantage of this time to rush to the side of HC09 to protect it. As for the other cadres, including Corazon, they were rushing over after receiving the order. Wait, don't go over there. Doflamingo immediately stopped his subordinates, and then shouted at Orochimaru, what did you do to him? Doflamingo pointed to the number HC09. Well, that's what you saw. Orochimaru didn't intend to answer, nor did he intend to leave, he was waiting for the big drama to be staged. Nothing to do, Orochimaru also threw a few sharp stones across the bloated body number HC09, blood splattered. Doflamingo's cadres looked at each other, wondering whether they should protect the number HC09. Protect it, it is bound to go to the other side, which is against Doflamingo's order. If you don't protect it, the number HC09 may be stoned to death by Orochimaru. The sudden explosion of the energy of the curse mark made HC09's transformation ability out of control, and the rampant energy drove his body to turn into a lump of irregular sarcoma, while also destroying his consciousness constantly. The consciousness that belongs to humans gradually disappears, leaving only the instinct of the beast. The damage caused by the stone became the last straw that overwhelmed the consciousness of number HC09. No, A shout, this is the last word left by the number HC09. Before his consciousness disappeared, the serial number HC09 was still staring at Doflamingo and the others. Maybe he thought he could rescue him. Eventually the swollen flesh swallowed the head numbered HC09. This also makes the expansion of the sarcoma more and more out of control. It rose to a height of more than 3 meters, and the mass of flesh and blood that could not be called a living thing dried down like a deflated leather ball, and the flesh and blood softened into a runny red liquid. I don't know who started first. The sound of swallowing saliva sounded one after another in the warehouse. With the exception of Orochimaru, who had known for a long time, Doflamingo and the others stared at the monster that had been bred by the sarcoma. Number HC09, it will cover the body with a barbed armor, the palm disappears, and it becomes a weapon with the same tip as 2 knight spears. In the mutant monsters, the appearance of the number HC09 can still be seen, but everything has become more sinister. The brown exoskeleton armor was as angular as a stone, and there was some blood-red liquid hanging on it. The barbs were concentrated on the back, each as thick as an adult arm, looking like a huge human-shaped hedgehog. The night guns in both hands were simply replaced by 2 giant stone cones. Just by looking at it, you can tell that this is a big killer, and no one wants to be smashed or touched by him. As the first gift of birth, the monster numbered HC09 opened the mode of smashing the air. The huge stone cones at the hands crossed, and the huge air wave directly overturned the roof of the warehouse. The rubble flying in the air has not yet landed, and the monster's hammer hit the ground. The basement of the warehouse was GG in an instant, which was not enough. When the monster was launched, the monster didn't even let go of the ground under its feet, and it directly collapsed. The vibration began to spread out from under the monster's feet, and all the warehouses in this row were reduced to ruins. Orochimaru hides underground by using the earth escape, but Doflamingo's men have no way to escape. At the critical moment, Doflamingo used thread fruit to build several cobweb walls to protect them and avoid the ending of all being buried. Doflamingo and others lifted the rubble to escape. Immediately afterwards, the rubble and ruins where the monster was located flew into the sky, and the monster that had buried it smashed the objects on its head and came outside. 0. The monster also found out that it was very stupid to keep hitting the ground, and he targeted Doflamingo and others. Doflamingo and the others wanted to slip away, but the monster didn't intend to give them this chance. Doflamingo and the others with their backs, in horror, a white mist evaporated, and the spikes on the back of the monster were launched like missiles. Doflamingo and Diamante, Lao-Ji, Mahabe, Gladius and several other cadres showed their magical powers, barely blocking most of the spikes, but some people were still crushed by spikes or fragments. This round of offensive has just ended, and the monsters have already approached them with their footsteps. Doflamingo was also angry. This monster didn't want them to go, and he didn't plan to go either. Killing this monster and studying his corpse was the only thought in Doflamingo's mind at this moment. The Don Quixote family is never threatened, not even a monster. Kill it. Doflamingo's arrogance was evident. Yes, my lord. Dal was the first to go up under the command of Doflamingo. They were followed by cadres such as Diamante, Lao-Ji, Mahabe, and Gladius. The movement caused by the monster is not small, especially the earthquake just now, which was felt throughout Calgary. Whether in the game or hanging out in other places, they can't help but look towards the port. Chapter 678 Control the Kite. In a moment, the forces received rumors of monsters appearing in the port. The curious guy immediately set off to the port to find out. After all, it doesn't appear early, and it doesn't appear late, but a monster appears during the martial arts conference. Many people smelled something wrong from it. But it will take some time for these people to get to the port. In the port warehouse, the people of the Don Quixote family have fallen into dire straits. Running in front of his clone doll by remote control, Doflamingo himself, Diamante, Lao-Ji, Mahabe, and Gladius 4 cadres, besiege the monster transformed by the number 9 experimental body from 5 directions. 2 bullet threads shot out from the index fingers of both hands of the avatar, twice, nailed to the left and right shoulders of the monster, barely breaking through the monster's stone-like armor, and embedded the threads. Although they had guessed that the defense of the monster would be very high, they barely broke the defense when they saw Doflamingo's bullet line, and after not even dealing damage, the officials of the Don Quixote family couldn't help but feel a little frustrated, which means that most of their means it can't be harmed either. Whether it is fear or depression, these are emotions that people have, but dolls do not have these emotions. With the help of these 2 elastic threads, it pulled its hands, and the entire doll flew towards the monster. Of course, this kind of behavior can only be done by a clone doll. Flying straight towards the monster is directly equated with courting death. Sure enough, the monster had long been unhappy with the little bug tied to him. The moment the avatar approached, the monster's 2 huge stone cones slammed twice. The first time, the huge stone cone from top to bottom shot the doll from the high-speed flight, hammered it into the ground, and formed a human-shaped pothole. The second time, from the bottom to the top, the giant stone cone broke through the ruins, and the avatar was hammered into the air from the ground together with some stones that could not be distinguished from the ruins or the ground. The avatar flew back at a faster speed than when it came, and finally smashed on the broken wall of the warehouse and exploded into white lines. If it was Doflamingo himself, there would be only a pool of blood left. The 4 cadres of the Don Quixote family made up their minds that they must not be attacked by monsters, or they would not even have a corpse. Army flag. As soon as he got close to the monster, Diamante used the ability to fly the fruit, and the ground within a certain range around him turned into a form that was as light as cloth. The ups and downs of the ground caused the running monsters to fall over because they lost their center of gravity. The attack power of the flying fruit is relatively poor, and many of Diamante's best tricks can't break the monster's defense. He's simply prepared to be that shit stick from the beginning to contain the monster and prevent him from fighting back. Mahabharata was ready right away. The man with the ability to crush fruit fell from the sky. After increasing his weight to 10,000 times, he smashed on the monster's chest. The monster, who had been struggling all the time, was honest on the spot. His upper body sank deep into the soil, and his legs were kicking randomly in the air. There were cracks in the smooth armor of the monster's chest, and the land-like fluttering silk became a pile of rags because of this blow. Diamante's army flag was disabled, but the control behind it was coming. After Doflamingo's avatar shattered, it turned into countless thin threads and burrowed into the ground, then emerged from the monster's side, and tied its limbs firmly to the ground. Mahabharata took the opportunity to roll and slipped away from the monster. Gladius and Lao Ji, who exploded fruit ability, looked at each other, and both greeted their strongest ability. A secret technique form that directly enters the Dwang fist. The palm is in a G-shaped gesture, and a G engraved mark is pressed against the monster's chest. The other put his swollen hands against the monster's head. There were 2 explosions in succession, and a black piece of fire and smoke was thrown into it with lightning speed. It turned out that Doflamingo's ult was dead. He rubbed a sharp blade with a thin thread, and after covering armament hockey, he greeted the monster pinned to the ground. Doflamingo's most desired result is to nail the monster to the ground, and he is very confident in the sharp blade he has created. And where Doflamingo was aiming was the monster's neck. The subject once said that there is a thing called a curse mark on his back neck, which is likely to be the real weakness of the monster. Doflamingo is betting too, but it doesn't matter if he bet wrong. Whoever said that the neck is not the point. The 4 cadres of the Don Quixote family and Doflamingo himself were looking forward to it. Because of the smoke from the explosion, they did not know what kind of damage the strongest explosion of several people caused to the monster. Suddenly, the thread connecting Doflamingo and the sharp blade he made was pulled tight, and if Doflamingo hadn't reacted too quickly and cut off control of the sharp blade, he would have been pulled over. The smoke dissipated, and the monster blew it all away with a wave of his hand. In the end, the many thin wires that wrapped around the monster's left foot were torn off, and after encountering the unbearable weight in life, this doll was completely useless. Without the entanglement of the dolls who are not afraid of death, the battle will be very hard in the future, but Doflamingo has no time to create another one. The sharp blade Doflamingo rubbed did pierce the monster, but it wasn't his neck, but was stopped by the stone cone in his right hand. The entire sharp blade was stuck in the huge stone cone, and the price was that the huge stone cone on the right hand was covered with cracks, and it might break at any time. At least it wasn't all bad news, much to the relief of the Don Quixotes. The attacks of Lao Ji, Mahabe, and Gladius also have effects. The left chest and head, which were taken care of, the armor was shattered, and stone-like fragments kept disintegrating and falling from the wound. The monster is not flesh and blood, but a life like a stone man. Keep attacking. Don't get attacked if you don't want to die. Doflamingo's words heralded the start of a new round of confrontation. However, without the control and entanglement of the avatar, Doflamingo had to cooperate with Diamante to contain the monster's actions, and handed over the task of damage to Lao Ji, Mahabe, and Gladius. So the classic control and kite tactics reappeared in the world, and the people of the Don Quixote family and monsters were fighting happily. Everything was going very well, but was Doflamingo too forgetful, or because someone's presence was too low? Orochimaru, oh Orochimaru, why don't you do it yet? Chin Luo, who has been in spectator mode, said that he was about to fall asleep. Chapter 679 Heartwarming. Every blow that the experimental body turned into a monster would have the effect of shaking the ground, causing the ruins to fly. But the high power of light is useless, even when there are misses in turn-based games, let alone this is not turn-based. Don't look at every encounter between Lao Ji, Mahabe, Gladius and the monster as dangerous, but with Doflamingo and Diamante on the side, the monster's attack just can't touch them. To sum up the characteristics of monster attacks, it is always a little bit shorter. The monster's best chance to hit a person was also easily broken by Doflamingo. Anyway, whoever was going to get hit, Doflamingo tied the guy with a thin string and dragged him away. So the monster was played like a monkey. Everyone in the Don Quixote family is talented in this regard, and it is not a problem to get the title of an excellent acrobat. The monster was already tired for the first time, and its movements were not as fast as before. Losing his flesh and blood, this monster 19 acted purely on the energy that erupted from the curse, using 1 point less. Maybe Doflamingo can even take out the monsters before his own reinforcements arrive, clean up the battlefield, and leave a place of ruins for the other forces that rushed in. In the normal battle between Don Quixote family cadres and monsters, Chinluo and Orochimaru are not the only audience. There are also a group of people, their position is even more VIP than Chinluo. When the warehouse collapsed, not only a few cadres were rescued by Doflamingo, but also some ordinary members and researchers of the Don Quixote family. Although they experienced another drop of stone thorns, many lucky ones were still alive. These people couldn't intervene in this level of battle between the Doflamingo 5 and the monsters, and they hid on the side and played salted fish that didn't even dare to shout 666, for fear of attracting the hatred of the monsters. As if shrouded in luck, these people turned on group stealth, but they were not taken care of by monsters, and they seemed to be forgotten. But this kind of luck was destroyed when the monster was about to die. Of course it was man-made. Two sharp, prismatic stones were thrown out of the crowd, and just floated in front of the invisible group of salted fish. Then Doflamingo and the others were stunned and inserted into the monster's eyes. Salted fish was silent, and the 5 Doflamingo were even more stunned. At this time, grabbing people's heads, but does it make sense? The stones inserted into the monster's squinting eyes are actually useless. The monster is not flesh and blood for a long time, so there is no weakness of eyes, it is just 2 red stones that look like eyes. But no one thought that the monster's reaction would be so violent, mainly because the monster felt the breath of the person he hated most, Orochimaru, from the 2 stones. The stone cone in the right hand, which was regarded as a treasure by the monsters, even if it was broken, was thrown out like this, and the target was the location of the group of salted fish that Orochimaru was hiding from. The monster's movement was very sudden, which also made Doflamingo's reaction a beat slower and missed the best opportunity to stop it. If this is in the game, the head of the team must shout OT, and then bring the OT person to the team. Pity that even if Doflamingo has the power of the leader at this time, he can't use it, and the crispy skin in the back row has been wiped out. I have seen a stone mill grind soybeans to make juice. The ruins at the moment are much more explosive than that. The stone cone in the monster's right hand blocked Doflamingo's knife. The quality was a bit poor, and there were many cracks, but the hardness was not strong enough to hold together. The smoky dust, the flying stones, and the blood-colored area that dragged the old man. Not a single complete corpse was to be seen. Flesh, brains, internal organs, these red, white, and black are all mixed together, and then a picture scroll more than 10 meters long and 5 or 6 meters wide is drawn out. The picture is too beautiful to be eaten with dinner. Diamante, Lao Ji, Mahabe and Gladius were also stunned. Isn't this all about to end? What a mess. Doflamingo was the first to turn his head, thinking of someone he had ignored. However, before Doflamingo could say the warning, the voice he didn't want to hear at this moment rang in his ears. Up close, Doflamingo could even feel the bad breath of Orochi pills. Which makes Doflamingo even more uncomfortable. According to the agreement, I will take Dover's life. You should be honored to be the first corpse I collect in this place, the world. Orochimaru said sullenly. He emerged from the ground behind Doflamingo, his hands and feet turned into 4 big white snakes to bind Doflamingo firmly, and the 2 white snake heads stopped beside Doflamingo's head, spitting up. Snake Nobuko, and the other 2 bit Orochimaru's waist. The most important thing is the 2 white snakes biting Doflamingo's waist, and their fangs have been replaced by Orochi pills with dentures made by seastone. Seastone is the nemesis of devil fruit power users, and it is also the most deadly poison. Forgive you, you have great ability, and you have to stop when you encounter seastone. Doflamingo really wants to shout out, stay away from me you faggot. Too bad Doflamingo doesn't even have the strength to open his mouth now. Moreover, the huge stone cone in the monster's left hand has been waved. I don't know if I want to kill the Orochi pill that he hated so much, or Doflamingo who has been playing him like a monkey. Doubt 2 killed together, 1 attack 780 hits, double happiness, nothing is more pleasing than this. If you kill these 2, the monster can say that it will be worth it in this life. Diamante, Lao Ji, Mahabe and Gladius naturally wanted to stop them, and Orochimaru had already arranged a new snake to stop them. Gladius glanced at it, and it seemed he was the only one who could save Doflamingo here. So Gladius' limbs swelled up very quickly, his legs exploded first, and the momentum of the explosion allowed him to come to Doflamingo's side as quickly as possible. The intercepted snake was dealt with by the explosion of his right hand. Gladius didn't slow down, and rushed to Doflamingo's side in one breath. The stone cones of the monster, Gladius and Doflamingo, were all less than 1 meter apart at the moment. Young master, you have to live, Gladius said softly. A loud bang, Gladius left the long-awaited explosion with Orochimaru and Doflamingo quickly out of the attack range of the monster stone cone. In order to ensure Doflamingo's safety, Gladius' explosion was the fullest. Gladius stayed where he was, and instead of Doflamingo, he became the target of the monster's attack. His left hand was gone, and the man flew out fiercely. Chapter 680 Dead is good too. After flying in the air for a while, Gladius fell, and after a few laps, it stopped at the edge of the port and did not fall into the sea. Thick blood congealed under Gladius, and he lay there motionless on the ground, looking miserable like a broken toy. Even if Gladius didn't die, he paid a big enough price to save Doflamingo. Gladius' left hand must never be found, and the monster's blow directly evaporated his left hand. The bone dregs and minced meat stars were mixed together, sticking to the stone cone in the monster's only left hand. With this level of minced meat, it's okay to make braised lion head, but trying to take it back is just a dream. and the heroic savior Gladius is likely to lie on the ground for a while. At this time, the Don Quixote family has no time to worry about his life and death, and their young master Doflamingo has not escaped from the danger. Precise, Orochimaru and Doflamingo are now as entangled as candy canes. When Orochimaru succeeded in his sneak attack, he could indeed take the opportunity to seriously damage Doflamingo. If it was a little harder, Doflamingo's half-life might be gone. Seastone dentures for the great white snake was not good, but Orochimaru couldn't stand it. Orochimaru not only wanted to take Doflamingo's life, he even arranged a way of death for others. The traitor turns into a monster and destroys the guy who induced the traitor to defect. The script is good, but the other main character, Mr. Doflamingo, is definitely not willing to do it. Especially when Gladius was interrupted like this, the entire crew overturned. Opportunities are like that, fleeting. Doflamingo's counterattack begins. Doflamingo is indeed a guy who has a high level of devil fruit skills. In a few years, he will be able to develop devil fruit to the realm of awakening, but this does not mean that he has only one method. His hockey level is also good. Seastone can make a devil fruit user incapacitated, but the use of hockey is not a problem. Hockey in the pirate world has something to do with aptitude, will, and cultivation, but it has little to do with strength. How many Hercules-level guys can't even get a ticket to hockey's practice? Facing the explosion of Gladius, the four white snakes entangled in Doflamingo received a lot of shock. When Orochimaru reacted and was about to attack Doflamingo immediately, a layer of black armament hockey had already covered him. Hovering around Doflamingo's head, one left and one right, expressed great sadness, and they couldn't say anything to Doflamingo's uncle who turned black in seconds. The razor-sharp fangs gnawed on Doflamingo's armament hockey, scraping a patch of sparks, followed by a piercing metallic screeching sound. The two white snake young heroes are really good at their teeth. Ordinary people's teeth soften just by hearing that metal rubbing sound. Orochimaru didn't expect the two beasts to finish Doflamingo. From the moment he flew in the air, he began to prepare ninjutsu, and what he said in his mouth was not the great mercy and great compassion mantra. Orochimaru looked at Doflamingo coldly, as if to say, struggle as you please, and if one big move doesn't kill you, I will lose. Doflamingo was sweaty, and it wasn't easy to concentrate on maintaining armament hockey in a weak state. And Doflamingo was using armament hockey to keep trying to squeeze Seastone's teeth out of his waist. You better kill me or you will regret it. This sense of imminent death reminded Doflamingo of his experience on Fishman Island. The feeling of being slaughtered like an ant made Doflamingo more uncomfortable than death itself. A strong sense of crisis shrouded Doflamingo's heart. Although he didn't know what Orochimaru was doing, there was definitely nothing good. All the strength on his body, Doflamingo pulled his head out of the mouths of the two big white snakes and slammed into Orochimaru, who was close at hand. With a tear sound, the mask on Orochimaru's face was covered with cracks, and his ultimate move was also interrupted. Orochimaru never thought that he would be interrupted by such a funny move, and his eyes were full of anger in addition to surprise. The two white snakes, who knew that something was going on, turned their eyes away one after another, pretending that they couldn't see Orochimaru. Can't blame them for this. Doflamingo's head is completely bald with armament hockey all over it, slippery. Still have to blame Doflamingo. What is armament hockey? It's also thanks to Doflamingo's inability to understand snake language, otherwise he promises to eat snake meat after he goes back. These beasts are also bullying people, and it is wrong to even resist. At this time, the rescue of the other officials of the Don Quixote family finally arrived. As Doflamingo's first four subordinates and the top cadre of the Square Army, Diamante's strength is undeniably strong. Only monsters with abnormally high defense can let Diamante play support. Diamante quickly solved the trap that Orochimaru used to intercept, and came to support Orochimaru and Doflamingo before they landed. The flying fruit turned Diamante's sword into a swimming snake. Using the most coquettish posture and the most bizarre angle, it left a lot of sword marks on the 4 snakes wrapped around Doflamingo in a moment. If it weren't for the fear of accidentally hurting the young master, Diamante would have countless opportunities to slice the 4 snakes. But because of Diamante's slash, the 2 white snakes that were biting Doflamingo's waist loosened, allowing him to find a chance to force out some of the fangs made by sea stone. Doflamingo's body became as soft as silk in an instant, and he escaped from the entanglement of 4 white snakes. Without too much entanglement, Orochimaru also knew that there was only one chance of such a good chance, and his combat power would not be enough to deal with 4 Doflamingo in a head-to-head battle. Unless the one shot, but that one obviously has no motivation. Nonsense, now Doflamingo is Chinluo's main debtor. It's the uncle who owes money these days. You killed Doflamingo. Are you Orochimaru who owes the devil fruit? Therefore, on the way here, Chinluo agreed that he would guarantee that Orochimaru would be able to retreat safely after recovering the number 9 experimental body, and it was impossible for him to take action against Doflamingo. Of course, as long as the brothers Doflamingo and Corazon are all right, Chinluo doesn't mind Orochimaru's shot at the rest of the Don Quixote family. Can you really do whatever you want when you owe money? Orochimaru suddenly said something that made Doflamingo and others confused.